everyone, Joshua Hanlon here. Today I'm on board the USS Lexington in Corpus Christi, Texas. This is an incredible aircraft carrier with an amazing history, and I'm joined by Dominic. He's going to be giving us a tour of this amazing ship today. So if you want to, why don't you start off with just kind of an overview of the history and how the ship got here to Corpus Christi.
All right, the ship was built at Ford Shipbuilding in Quincy, Massachusetts. The keel was laid in July of 1941. It was supposed to take 3 years to complete. They did it in 18 months. Unbelievable. The designator for it is CV-16. What that means is C is for carrier, V is for heavy or air, 16 is the order number. So this is what they call Essex class carrier. And so what happened in this situation here, the first carrier out was the Essex, USS Essex, and from then on they named the other carriers. They followed the same class, which is Essex class, all the way through. It was about 24 built. This was the second one built, even though the number was 16. Okay, so that company was so far ahead of the others that they got out before they did. So it was finished in October 1942. They took it out, took the run analysis on it, make sure get all the bugs out of it and so forth and so on. And they commissioned it in February of 1941, February 17th in fact. Like I said, there was 24 of them built, and we had never lost a carrier of this class in World War II or any time. They all survived. This carrier here was put in service, like I said, in 1943. It served in the Pacific mostly, okay? And it got damaged by a torpedo in December of 1943. It was only out, what, 9 months? And it had to go back and be repaired. It got hit twice during World War II. Once was the torpedo run, and the next one was a kamikaze in 1944, okay? That was a devastating one. In the torpedo hit, we lost about 9 guys. There was about 34 wounded. In the kamikaze hit, we had there was 50 of them killed and about 134 wounded. And when we get an opportunity as we're going through, I'll show you the memorial for them downstairs, and I can go through it with you there. It's very interesting the way it handled here. But after World War II, we were the only carrier to go into Tokyo Bay during the ceremonies, and before Missouri, we were there, and we were flying secret missions, feeding our guys at POW camps, because the Japanese just walked away and left them, okay? And nobody was supposed to know we were doing it, but there's a picture, I'll have to show you, it's still up, where it says on there, "Thanks, Lex, for the food, and we need cigarettes." That's really cool. I was telling the guys at Fredericksburg about that. They wanted to see it too. Anyway, it's pretty cool. And after that, they brought all those guys back, and we got caught in a typhoon. We all almost lost the front end of the ship. I mean, it was all open up there, and the winds were getting down and almost lifted the deck up above. And they survived it though. Then we put it in mothballs for till about 53. It was in mothballs in Tacoma, Washington. When they took it out, they decided to recondition it and make it for what we call the jet age, okay? They put an angle deck on it. This is a straight deck carrier, and I'll show you some pictures of what it would originally look like and what it looks like now. They added an angle to it from 53 to 55. They made a lot of upgrades to it. That's why some of this isn't original, but the majority of it is. But there's a lot of upgrades were done to it. It was taken It was in service till about 1962. In fact, it was in 2 movies during that time frame. War and Remembrance with Robert Mitchum, and the other one was Midway. The original Midway was filmed on here. They took it off line in '62 and made it a training ship. And what they did is train carriers. That's where I met up with it. I was stationed here in Corpus Christi. My squadron was doing what they call carrier quals on the ship here. I was supposed to spend a week out on there in case any of our equipment broke down in the aircraft. We had to fix it there. And so what happened is I was extended because of the Cuban crisis when that happened from February of '62 until August '62, the end of August. And I was supposed to be on this ship in the first week of August, and they let me go the first day of August. They cut my deal back. I missed the opportunity to spend some time on here, but I didn't. So when I came back into this area here, I had to be a volunteer on here because Navy trained me, and I felt great about these guys. But anyway, get back to the main story here. It served as a training ship from 1962 through 1991. It has the record for the most takeoff and landings. No ship is ever going to get close to it. Something like 492,000 takeoff and landings. 91, they put it up for bids. They asked different areas along the Gulf Coast here who wanted the ship, and we had to bid for it. And we bid for it. Turns out, I think it was Pontchartrain over in that area there. They come in with their bid too late. They were lower than us, but they came in late, so we got it. And so we got the ship in November, I believe it was October, November of '92. And from then on, it's been here. There's interesting things here. I might just show you over here. These were the original crews over here of the Lexington when it was first commissioned. As you can see here, the different air groups. They could have up to 6 air groups back then. We had, which most carriers these days don't have, is we had 90 aircraft. Okay, but there were different varieties. You had fighters, you had bombers, you had torpedo planes. Okay, that's the reason we had so many. Nowadays, one plane can do everything. Okay, so they don't need as many. Most of them will carry about 80. But that's your different squadrons: Air Group 16, 19, 29, and 94.
How many people would have served on the ship during World War II?
The maximum capacity was 3,500. Okay. 3,500, and that's fully manned, and that's with 6 squadrons. Airedales were up on the upper levels. Most of the regular seamen, we call them black shoes, were down on the bottom from this level down, okay? Hangar deck down. Going up is more Airedale, okay, as you go. All right. Now I think up here, it's got, here's the, well, don't show the battle areas, but this shows you the records of the different squadrons during that time frame there. Each one of them flags is a kill for a pilot. But notice the ships, it talks about gross tonnage and net tonnage. And then they got, what you see as ducks. That's where they caught planes on the ground. They called them dead ducks, they just shot them. One of them here has a black flag, if you notice up here. And it wasn't a black pilot. It was a junior officer. He was an ensign. He was the lowest you can get, pilot. And he shot down a Betty bomber at night. That was unheard of in World War II, to shoot planes down at night. Okay, and for the longest time, you see that one there with the, looks like a guard stand? I could not figure that one out. All the other symbols I could figure out. Turns out that's the artist. We have a who built this in his garage. He was actually he actually was served on this ship, and he built this. If you look closely, you'll see bottle caps and ballpoint pens and so forth. He used stuff around the house.
Recycled materials, sort of.
Yeah, and he built the whole ship. And when he died, he gave it to us. We had to tear his garage down to get it out, to bring it down here. He gave us that and a couple model planes that he had done.
That's incredible. So that's the USS South Dakota battleship.
Right.
Okay, yeah, amazing.
Okay.
I see there are kind of experiences or photo ops throughout the ship too, where you can do more hands-on activities.
Yeah. As we get through here, well, most of this area, they got some pretty good displays that they recently have made, which is very interesting. They got some holograms here. We had one of our volunteers was 102 years old. He was a Pearl Harbor survivor. His name was Bob Batterson. He was a great guy. I worked with him. He died about 2 years ago. That's history. We're going into what we call the forecastle here. Forecastle or forecastle as we call it. You'll see this is officers' country, most of this here. Mm-hmm. This is heads, male officer heads. Here they show the old link trainers. This is probably one of the originals from way back when. I don't know where they got it from, but they had it stored. Somebody gave it to us. Usually people give us stuff.
And so what exactly were these used for?
Training pilots.
Okay.
They would get it. Nowadays, the guys don't fly planes anymore. They do it all virtually. And then when they're ready to graduate, they let them fly. So they save all that gas. It's wild. And this is just some of the deals. This is, I'm going to call this the, we don't want to get involved in that film right now. Let's go back over here. What you're seeing here, this is all junior officers, pilots. These were they were usually 2 to a room, okay? And you can see here. And then they put this for the kids. And I come up here and have fun. I only know how to do 2 knots on here when I tie the aircraft down. There's 2 we use. But they got all the neat knots, and you can sit in here and learn them. I come in here every once in a while and try my hand at it. Pretty good.
Yeah.
And this shows you a lot of guys. This is our aviation boatswain's mate. This is what they were good for. They, if you notice as we're going around, you see the post, like here, poster all decorated. They do all that deal, and then they paint them to make them nice and white. That one's worn out. But they're really good at it. We got one guy here that does an excellent job. But it shows you there's 106 of this type. Now, when we get over here, there's another one. I'll show you. It's 121 of that type.
It's amazing to see the way technology changes, whether it's just from tying knots to computers, whatever it might be.
This is where your portholes were, where you were able to tie off your ship when you went into port. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the port side. That's the starboard side. And the way you tell, I'll show you in a minute. There's a diagram around. There's not one available right now, but I'll show you what I mean. If you saw the movie Pearl Harbor, you saw that scene. How the Japanese were able. By the way, that movie is about Pearl Harbor, right there.
So this area we're in now is kind of a Pearl Harbor dedicated section.
Section here, right?
Okay.
And so they put wooden fins on their torpedoes so that they would stabilize quicker. Well, the torpedo normally, when you drop it, it'll go about. Pearl was only 40 foot deep. They would go close to 100 foot before they stabilized. So the Japanese came up with this, invented an idea with the wooden fins so they'll stabilize quicker. Anything in color is the movie. Anything in black and white is actual footage. These are all paraphernalia from different ships. that were at Pearl Harbor. The Arizona and the Tennessee, and these are all stuff that they're on loan to us. We don't own any of this.
All artifacts and things that were at Pearl Harbor.
There's your opening here where you can throw the ropes out to tie the ship down and you get into port. Okay, this is another example of this is hardware was actually at Pearl Harbor. One thing I wanted to show you and make note to you. Notice these black drums here. You see them up here?
Yeah.
They are water breaks for the catapult system. So when the plane's taking off, it grabs that shuttle and keeps it from going out with the plane. Okay, and then we get it back. It takes about 15 seconds to reset. And we'll talk more about it when we get up there. But I want to show it to you now, so when I mention it, you know what I'm talking about.
Perfect.
Let's go through here. Oh, by the way, the anchor chain here. Each one of those links weigh about 110. Some are 130. But the majority of them here, you see some are bigger over there. And they're color coded. As you let them out, it's 9 fathoms. That's 56 feet. They change color. It tells you when it's red, that means you're getting near the end. That's it. You know. And we have one of the anchors is a hurricane anchor, and the other one is a regular anchor. Okay, in the event of a hurricane, that one's always this way. Try to hold the ship much better than this one over here would.
Yeah. So
they're called Brutus and Bertha.
An easy visual system then, as they're letting the anchors out.
I can't show you here now. The light didn't come on yet. When it's done here, this light will show up here. What it shows you is before and after. It shows you the ships before the episode and then after what happened to them. But what's really phenomenal about this here is the fact that all but 3 were back in service within 6 months. Any of these ships that were damaged. Of course, the Arizona was totaled. I think the California, and I believe what's the other one? Nevada, I think, was the other one. But that was a target ship, so that's no big deal.
Yeah, but the rebuilding efforts were incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they didn't hit when they come in. They didn't hit all our hangars and all that stuff. They come in to get the carriers first. Both carriers were out. The CV-2, which was the USS Lexington, that was number 4. Actually, 5 Lexingtons built since the Revolutionary War. 5 ships held that name. The last 2 were carriers. The CV-2, which we'll go through on the way out here, I'll show you that one, and the CV-16. And the CV-2 was out at sea, and there was another one, I can't remember the name of it, and I think it was the Saratoga, one of those was out. No, it wasn't Enterprise. It was out to sea. So the Japanese knew what to do. That kind of blew their mind. They had to go plan B right away. And then they went after the cruisers and battleships and so forth like that. Okay? And that made it tough one. And so they got confused. And that saved us because they didn't knock out any of our. There was a few fuel areas, but majority they left intact. So we were able to recover fairly quick, especially on it. Okay, this is a room here was dedicated by Ross Perot. Okay, he paid for this here. That shows you the Arizona, and this shows you all the different airport civilians and ships and casualties at Pearl Harbor. All these. By the way, this wasn't normal. This was for the movie Pearl Harbor. The Japanese used hemp. Okay, we did. We used, if you look in here, that's the type. That reminds you of we'll get a closer view over here. It's like the old Chinese torture things you had when we were kids.
Yes.
Stick your fingers in, you can't get them out. Well, that's the kind of material that was. Now, Oh, I was going to show you real quickly. This is the guy I was talking about right here. This is our hero here. He was one of our volunteers, 102 years old. He survived Pearl Harbor. He started out as a enlisted man, and unbelievable, he retired as a Navy captain. That's unheard of in the Navy for a Mustang to make it all the way through. They usually make it as commander, and that's it. You know? But he made it all the way to captain. He was a pilot. F9, the F4F, the fighter. But he was mostly escorts. He said he didn't get into any dogfights because it's towards the end of the war when he got his pilot's license. One thing I want to show you real quickly here. This is as far forward as you can go in a ship. Okay? Now, in the movie Pearl Harbor, you look towards the end of the movie, you'll see that channel marker. They couldn't get it out. They could do something with the horizon, but they couldn't get that out. So next time you watch the movies, watch for that.
A local landmark.
Yeah, a local landmark. You'll see it there. They couldn't hide it. They couldn't cover it up. Okay. I'll explain how these work. I'm going to show you something here first. They have a movie here, and it don't look like it's running right now. Oh, it's running. How they made the movie on the ship here. That's an interesting one, but it takes about 20, 30 minutes. Here's where I want to take you here. Okay, we're going to go right through where she is. Now, notice here how high the combs are here. They call these combs, by the way. That's anytime you see a watertight door, you'll see this type of arrangement here. But as the higher we get up, the higher they are. We call them, lovingly call them knee knockers. You got to be careful. You don't wind up hitting your knee or your head at the same time. Let's go through here. Okay, this is what we call the secondary conn, or it could be, some guys call it emergency backup for the bridge. I like the Navy term secondary conn. This is where the executive officer would be during a battle. He would be here. But what I want you to note here is look at the dials here. They're in Japanese. So in the movie, we simulated the Tagagi, which was the Japanese ship that was there at that time. And notice above the windows, it's all got Japanese writing, the doorways, and so forth. It's all from the movie. And if you watch the movie, you'll see the two admirals standing here, Japanese admirals. It's just like this in the background and everything. You'll see all this. By the way, all these you see in the brass here, they're what they call sound-powered phones. These are superb. They were run out of this room here. There was 13 stations. What it is a phone that you don't need power for. You generate the power with your voice. Mm-hmm. All Navy ships have it. It was 1936 technology that they invented this. All it is a permanent magnet inside of a miniature diaphragm, or I would say a miniature speaker. So when I talk into it, the coil in the back of the speaker moves in and out of a magnetic field, which follows your voice pattern, which pushes the coil, puts it on the line. It'll travel up to 25 miles of wire. In other words, a whole ship.
Right. It sounds so basic, but it worked so well.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it will. You can communicate. It'll sound like you're in the next room. I mean, it's like clear and good. I teach a class on this in the fall to CCSD on how they work, the insides and everything. But they're all over the ship, and so you can plug into them and you'll be able to talk to anybody. Normally they're segregated to certain areas, okay? But there is a switch that you can talk to everybody at once on it too. Because like the gunners want to keep it on one day, the firemen want to keep it on everybody. You can imagine what a madhouse during a battle would be, you know, all the noise and
trying to communicate clearly.
Trying to communicate when you're nervous and excited.
So that area, this area that we're in now, is this kind of off the main kind of public tour somewhat? It seems like it's less restored than some of the rest of the ship.
Right, as you can see, you know it's a little messy in there. But, you know, I always like to show people that I bring them up here because I want them to show how they did the movie and just show them some of the points to watch for when they see the movie again. Let's get through here. Notice how the rails are done here. You can see they painted it fairly thick. That's that macrame I was talking about that the boatswain's mates did. A lot of this wasn't on the ship. There's something you don't think much about. Notice they got rat guards.
The rats?
Yeah, they'll come on the ship. That's how they get on the ship.
Oh, wow.
You got to put a guard on there to keep them from going on there. One thing I didn't mention here, I'm going to show you real quickly. I always like to point this out. In the Navy, all the enlisted men have a symbol that they wear on their stripes, as you see here. He's a machinist mate, okay? But every enlisted man has a designation, what his purpose is on the ship, okay? When they get in the petty officer range, or even in the three-stripers, they'll have a little symbol on top too at times. They can get them that way. But that's important. A lot of the other services don't do that. We do. So that, in other words, you won't want to be in an area you shouldn't be. And they can tell right away, hey, you don't belong. Like mine was an atom with wings. I mean, it was aviation. I'm up there. They're down here. So if they caught me, I'd be out there chipping paint and swabbing decks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very much sort of that city at sea type idea where there's many, many different roles kind of all happening at once.
As I mentioned, that's an excellent movie if you ever get a chance. And this shows you the Japanese. This is how we decorate the ship with bedrolls and made it look like the Japanese carrier. There's the B-25 going off. We stripped them down, you know, just enough fuel. We had to crane them over, barge them over and crane them onto the ship. And then they set them up, they stripped them down so they didn't have all their goodies in there. And enough fuel to make it from the ship back to the base. So that's what they did. Yeah. That's how they actually flew them off here, though, in the movie. It was for real. And of course, there's Ben Affleck and
Alec Baldwin.
Alex Baldwin. Ben Affleck's over here somewhere. Where is he? There he is. There's Ben. Alex Baldwin. I always want to forget him anyway. I've got to be careful. This is how the chain work here. Now, what this is like a clutch. I would step on this, and I would push it down. If I want to lower, you can see lowers this way, hoist is the other. I'm either bringing the chain up or putting the chain down. Now, the chain goes into when it rolls out here, it goes into a room down here, helter-skelter. I mean, there's no method to it. It just lays in where it lays, okay? Then they go down and spray it down when they're done with it. That's called a wildcat. It's a free runner, a freewheeler. It runs completely free.
How many guys would have operated the chain, kind of bringing that up?
One guy here and there, and a guy on a brake.
Okay.
This is a brake, so you try to control. You don't want that chain to get away from you.
Right.
You can imagine how heavy that anchor is when it's going out. So they would have a brake here, and that would be the clutch and so forth to make it go. And then they had pelican stoppers. They call them pelican stoppers right here. This is what you would anchor them here once you got it in the position you wanted it. In other words, you brought them all up. You can see it safety wired and everything. That was a tough job. Usually somebody too friendly would get that operation. He'd get over there and he'd have to bang that off, pull the pin and then bang that off and stand back, you know. It was pretty unique. You can see the different tools we used. There's removing the chains, that big monster bar over there. Okay, that's about all I can tell you here. Let's head on through here. Oh, but by the way, this gets, I did not see this in the movie, although the sign here says it was in the movie. I didn't see this, okay? But they got it here.
Yeah.
They show and that, remember I mentioned that guy give us a bunch of planes? Well, somebody donated to us. That is a remote control.
Oh, wow.
That thing actually flies. They gave it to us. They gave us about 3 of them. Let's head on through here. I thought there was a thing. Okay, this is a lounge for the junior officers. There's what I was talking about there. You can see guys had a lot of spare time. 121 different knots he tied there. The other one was more of a display of a macrame type stuff, where this is real knot.
I like the Texas one. Very nice.
Yeah, they got some good ones. Okay, and you can see that there's good examples of what they do, and there's a ward room and so forth. Okay, this is what we called Boys Town here. This is where all your junior officers were quartered, all your junior line officers. You saw where the junior pilots were over there. Okay, and normally this is the type of lighting you would have, okay? Especially up in this area here, because white light, I don't care if it's a pinhole, you could see it for 5 miles. You're opening yourself up to the enemy. So most of the time they were in this either blue or this color, okay? And your eyes adjusted fairly quickly, so it wasn't a problem there. And this shows you their setups here. It's not much different than enlistment, except they have a safe where we don't. Okay, they got a little more drawer space, and of course for their uniforms they had to hang them up. But that's pretty much the same as us. Okay. By the way, this is off the record here. This is kind of a wild place for paranormal. I've been to a few of those episodes here, and
Okay.
that is wow. I mean, I want to tell you.
That's for our next visit.
Yeah, you definitely got to try that.
Hi, and welcome to the Lexington CV-2 exhibit on board the USS Lexington.
Now, this is what I was talking about, the
This exhibit
CV-2.
honors
This
the
was
previous
the,
Lexington CV-2,
that's what we originally
known
looked
as
like
the
here.
Lady Lex.
This is
The
CV.
USS Lexington
This is what the
CV-2 was sunk at the
CV-16
Battle of
looked
the
like,
Coral Sea, and the
originally,
decks you
C-16.
now stand upon
It
were
was a
named
straight
in her
deck
honor.
carrier. And then we
The
added an
Lady
angle
Lex,
on right
along
here.
with the USS
for the
Yorktown,
jet age.
ambushed Japan's
Okay.
Imperial fleet as it
Because
sailed
the
through
jets,
the
the
Coral
reason
Sea,
they did that is because when the
thereby
jets take
thwarting
off
the invasion
and
of Port
land,
Moresby and
they're
preserving
going
the
full
safety
speed.
of northern
They're going
Australia.
160 miles an hour.
The CV-2 was a
Okay.
pioneer
And
in
when
her
they get a
role as one of
hook,
the
then
first
they pull
aircraft
back on
carriers
the
of the
throttles.
US
Otherwise,
Navy,
they keep going.
and established
Turn
world
and go
speed
back and
records,
try again.
supplied the city of
They could
Tacoma,
go up to
Washington
3
with
tries.
emergency power, and she led the
Now,
search from the
when they mentioned, I mentioned to you that they reconditioned the ship. This were portholes before. Now they made American conditioning back. But these were they
There
expanded
was a sense
the
of
beam
pride
of the
for all
ship.
hands serving aboard a ship known as the Queen of the Flat Tops.
I met this guy.
That is all.
They had a reunion here about 10, 15 years ago. He still could fit in that uniform. It was only, they lost about 850 guys. It was unbelievable. There was a battle where they were coming back, and the Battle of the Coral Sea, and when they were coming back, the pilots were coming up, the Japanese got behind them, and nobody knew it. The pilots didn't see them because they were behind them, and the Lexington saw it, and they were trying to rate it, but it was all kinds of traffic, and they couldn't get through, and they come in and they bombed the carrier. I mean, they about all the decks were collapsed and everything. It didn't sink, but we had to sink it. It was a ship called the Phipps. I'll show you a picture of it as we get through here. What it was on the walls here or not? No. Let's go on through here.
But this is a good example here of how the ship it's so much more than just the ship or the planes. There's museum exhibits and things throughout, so much information.
Well, we had to talk about our sister ship here. This CV-2 was used to hunt for Amelia Earhart way back when. Okay, enough of the past. Let's head on to here. By the way, I didn't mention this particular carrier we looked at there, CV-2. I know you don't want to talk too much about that, but that was what they call a cruiser hull carrier. What that means, in World War II, we had a surplus. World War I, we had a surplus of heavy cruisers, and the treaty said we had to get rid of them. So what they did is they took all this off and made carriers out of them. They built about 8 of them. Okay, and the CV-2 was one of the first. Mm-hmm. Okay, Langley was the first, and I don't think it was a cruiser hull. I take it back, it was. It was just a flat deck, though. They didn't have a superstructure on it. Where this one, as you see it there, it looks like a face, as they got it there. That is a cruiser. Now this carrier we're on here, the CV-16, is altogether different. I hate to say this because you've heard it with the Titanic and so forth. It was unsinkable, the way it was designed. And I'll get into some of the features as we go through tour 4. Okay.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see the photos of the different time periods, especially as technology kind of transitioned and aircraft carriers came to be more dominant in the design structures.
Right. We were the first of the jet age. They converted this to make it more adaptable to jets, because there was Korean War coming up and all that jazz. There was a couple of them they did. Some of them they kept the same. There was, like I said, 24 of them built. Riscony was the same as this. This is where your the guys who ran the squadrons, the squadron chiefs were here. The one to each room, staterooms for the commanders there of that squadron. There's actually 6 rooms here. A couple of them are on this side. You notice there was a false wall there. They had offices there, but we took the elevator out and we made a theater out of it in there. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you want to, we can go in there and look later on. But this is a sound-powered phone, by the way. They got it nailed down because people were stealing them. But if I get one, I think on the tour, I'll take it apart and show you what it looks like inside. Oh, here we go. We got one. Okay, that's not a good one though, is it? Let me see if there's one out here better. You can get a shot. Now, this is important here now. This is how you find your way around on a ship, okay? The ship's broken down in 3 sections, A, B, and C. A is forward, which we are now. B is middle, C is aft, okay? So that means we're in the front of the ship. This level here tells you what level you're at on the ship. Now, we have 7 decks down and we got 10 up, okay? Decks going down they'll look like this. They'll go 1, 2, 3, all the way down, okay, to 7. Going up, it'll be, this is one, the next one will be 01, 02, all the way up to 10. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, this tells you it's living quarters here. This number here, these 2 numbers here, tell you what side of the ship you're on. If it's an odd number, you're on the starboard side. If it's an even number, you're on the port side. Okay? So that's easy to remember. If you're lost, you say, hey, I'm at A1. Frame is important. I should have showed you back there. Damn, I forgot. Well, I can't remember everything.
It's a lot to keep track of. You're doing great.
It starts at 1 and goes all the way up to about 210, or I think, or 225, something like that. So they're 4 feet apart. And so you look on the walls, the numbers are painted on the wall. Some of the areas they painted over here, but you'll see as we're going along, you'll be able to look up and see numbers painted on the wall. And this one here tells you what numbers are in this room. Look at 39 through 42 in this room here. Okay, so if you're lost, you say, hey, I'm at A1, frame 39. And it can get you. If you got a radio, you got a problem. Okay. This shows you a little history here. You can see it. They had a lot of, there it is. There's the one I was telling you about. This is a great one here. And Nimitz Museum and Fredericksburg don't have this. I was telling them about it, so I think our guy sent, our historian sent him a shot. What you can see is this, thanks Lex for the food, doing swell, and it says, hey, we need cigarettes. Please. And then that's the signing. That's kind of the scary things. There's an excellent movie downstairs. We get a chance. It's only a 5-minute movie. I want you to see some of the episodes on there. And that, of course, that's famous. Mm-hmm. You see that on the Midway and everything else. All right, let's head out of here. This is a new display we're getting ready to put online. It's riding a helicopter, virtually. And so they will sit in that chair and you'll be able to control the helicopter from the chair. So it's
Very
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've been watching him working with it. It's pretty wild. He makes it do all kinds of crazy things. Where should we start now? Let's go 3 since it's closer here.
Okay. You can see there are vehicles and planes and things around too, kind of all throughout the ship.
A lot of this is donated.
Okay.
This is it has the information where it came from and so forth on here. Some of the stuff, like one of our volunteers is a doctor, and she had, I don't know how she got it, but she had this medical kit here, one of these, and it's all the goodies in there, and she donated it and they put it on here. But this shows you typically it wouldn't be on the ship. But,
Right.
But we had, well, it could be. They could have drove it on, but wouldn't normally be, okay? By the way, this one here, since we want to talk here a little bit, this is the type of plane that H.W. Bush flew right here. In fact, there's a little sign about him here. This was the type of aircraft he flew. They found this in Lake Michigan. They used to do, we didn't know at the time, but they used to do carrier cloth in Lake Michigan too, rather than Atlantic and the Gulf. And it had crashed and they found it. The propellers were all bent up and wings missing. And they brought it, gave it to us, and we rebuilt it here. Had the college help us, and they made the wings for us and everything. So it looks pretty good.
Yeah, very
actual
impressive.
motor and everything. Now the jets don't have motors in them. None of the jets do. That's a jet engine over there. The display over here. This is the one that's pretty common with commercial aircraft like the 707, Boeing 707. A few of these. This gives you a breakdown of what it looks like. And up to here is up to here is commercial. And from here back is military. This is your afterburner. That's actually raw fuel that's injected into that afterburner and it gives pop to it. It gives you another 5,000, what is that? 10,000 pounds of thrust. You hit it with the afterburner. Let's head up here. You know, this is, they put this display up and you stop and think how PC we weren't back then. They got a Popeyes deal, he's talking about chinks and Japs, and you know, it's really wild, but it's very interesting. Some of the history back then, they got Frank Sinatra up there and everything else. Let's head up here. This is going to go up in what they call the captain's quarters here.
How often do you trip on one of these staircases?
No. Oh, you got to remember one thing. I always ask kids this question when I'm teaching classes. How many stairwells do you think there are in a ship? How many would you say?
Hundreds?
0. They're all ladders.
Oh, there you go.
We don't call them stairs. They're ladders. Okay. It's a little trick question, but you always get the kids on it. They think they know.
He got me with that one.
You're getting more than you paid for. Okay. It's always nice if you see these things, use them with your hands. Okay. This is the first captain of this ship. He retired as an admiral. His name was Stump. Felix Stump. He was the first captain of this ship. They got a memorial for him and everything here. He retired as an admiral. Now this is where we talk about all the different Lexingtons, starting the Revolutionary War, 1776, 1826, 1961 is one of those, what do you call ships? Metal ships.
Armor-clad?
Armor-clad, yeah. And the CV-2, and then us. Oh no, it's still CV-2, that's us here, originally, okay? But that's our history right there. We were the 5th. There's always been a ship since the Revolutionary War, so that they, originally this was supposed to be called the Cabot, the USS Cabot. And for shipbuilding, how would you say, commissioned or talked to Secretary of Defense to, if they could have the name changed to Lexington because of that reason. They're from Quincy, Massachusetts, of course, and they wanted to keep that name with the ship. So that's how we got the name Lexington. It was originally a Cabot. Now this shows you a typical formation when you're at sea. This is where the admiral comes in. The admiral sets this up. The captain is in charge of this ship and this ship only. That's us, okay? But this is a formation that was used in the Mariana Turkish shooters. I was talking to you in the Battle of the Philippine Seas. And you can see how they protect the carrier. These frigates and destroyers and so forth here. USS Enterprise. A lot of history on that one, right? Anyway, if a submarine was to fire a torpedo, those smaller ships would try to take the hit rather than let them take out our and these were usually fighter escorts ships here, the smaller ones. At that time, this ship was the biggest, okay? And now it's the smallest. Okay, it's funny how it changed. This is an interesting room. I love this room here. By the way, I worked at NASA, and I was going to say, I knew some of these. I knew that gal over there, and I knew some of these guys here. And that was a mission we worked, okay? And this shows the different symbols. You see, that's aviation mechanic, machinist. And that would be the guys that worked on propellered planes, okay? And then I think there's one of mine here, over here. No, it's not here. I guess it's not. But this was all illegal. You weren't allowed to do this to your uniforms. And you can see they did it. They always hid it.
This wasn't standard? I'm surprised.
No. They'd get shore duty and they get that embroidered and they weren't allowed to show that. And you couldn't deform your uniform at all. So a lot of them did stuff like that. And see, he rolled the sleeves. You can actually roll them down. You wouldn't see this. Okay, that's a boilerman. That's his symbol there.
I see the name of the Blue Ghost. What's the story behind that with the ship?
The story behind that is that's a good one. There was a young lady of American descent. She was American of Japanese descent. I'll get it straight. She was born in L.A. Okay, in other words, she's an American, and she went to college in Chicago. She got her degree, and her mother gave her a boat ticket to go visit her sick aunt in Japan. So she went there, and the war broke out, and she was stuck there. Well, the Japanese knew she spoke English very well. Her name was Iva Tokura. We lovingly know her as Tokyo Rose, okay? It's a whole different story than what you read in the paper and everything. She actually was a double agent. We did not know that. When she came back from the end of the war, they threw her in jail, okay, for treason. But she was their DJ. She would give, any of the movies you see now, you'll hear a lady talking in the background on a carrier, and she's telling and they plays great music. The guys love the music, but she always playing things down. Like so many ships were sunk, so many planes were shot down, blah, 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 the whole routine. But it turned out, we didn't know at the time, there was an American lieutenant commander and a New Zealand lieutenant commander who were giving her code words. So she would use the code word in her speeches. And our intel knew it, okay? Not until the Ford administration did they know, after we got all the information back from World War II, and they gave her a pardon. But she already served 4 or
Wow.
5 years in jail. You can Google it and look it up. It's an interesting story. Read the whole story about it. But it's kind of a shame that here she was, a double agent for us, and they threw her in jail for treason. I'm sorry, then forgot to tell you how we got the name of the ghost. I'm sorry. She was on the radio, and she saw it. They had announced 4 times that this ship was sunk. So when she saw it the 5th time, she said, no, that cannot be the USS Lexington. It's got to be a ghost ship. It's got to be the Blue Ghost. And that's how we get the nickname. Now, if you meet the guys that were serving on the ship here, we've had reunions here where I get to talk. I always like to talk to them and find out some things that happened way back when. Anyway, they called this Lady Lex. Although the CV-2 is supposed to be Lady Lex. These guys still call it Lady Lex, this one. And some call it Blue Ghost, some call it Lady Lex. So it's a real mixture. You don't know who to believe or what to think anymore. But anyway, that's how we got the nickname, was from her.
Yeah, wow.
And the guys, you know Americans, they like that nickname, and they keep it. Now, this shows you that all the captains that served on the ship here. This used to be a hologram. There was 34 total. You count Stump, and you're going to see 32 in here. And you say, well, I thought you said there was 34. Well, this guy here served twice. He had 2 tours on this ship. That gentleman right there. This is some of the medals that the ship's former captains had received at the time. They just donated back to the ship. I met these 2. This guy was fantastic. He's still alive. He's working in Pensacola, and he was really a character to talk. I just loved talking to him. I had fun the whole time there. He was telling us some wild stories about how he crashed it in New Orleans, the ship. Bringing it into that pier. He took out a dock or 2. He was funny. He was a great guy. We interviewed those guys and then put them in our historic records. Now this is the captain's quarters here. Now normally, and we're at sea, the captain's always upstairs, and I'll show you that when we get up there. But he's never down here, so the exec sometimes comes here and stays. But this is where, when he's in port, he entertains dignitaries. If you look here, these are quite a few of the dignitaries that have been on this ship. The only ones not here, and I'm a little disturbed, they ought to put him up here, is Muhammad Ali. Back in then, he had that bad press way back when. He toured this ship in New Orleans, when it was in New Orleans. And he should be on here, and he's not. I think they need to get that updated. But these are all, like you just see the movie stars, and of course the movies were made, and then of course MacArthur and Nimitz. Oh, yeah. That's our old administrator. He's the guy that originally took this ship over when it came in here. He retired. How long is it? Oh, you haven't been here that long to remember. It's probably about 5 years ago. He retired and died 2 months later of cancer. God, he was a great guy for a captain.
But it's a very audio-visual experience as you walk around the ship. There's always kind of voices kind of informing you and sharing the story and the history.
Exactly. Now look in here. This is the captain's bedroom here. He's got a hatch here. He needs to get up to the flight deck quickly. You can go out that gate and go right up. Okay, you can see uniforms here, full bathroom here. This was a functional bathroom, but people were abusing it, so they put a lock on it. It's still functional. And this was the most classified room on the ship here. This is where the captain kept all the documents. There was always a Marine on duty here. Okay.
I hope you can join us on a future visit. In the meantime, please enjoy the rest of your tour on board USS Lexington, and thank you for visiting.
Colt, let the kids play here. Get to see one of those ACACs here. 1911 Colt Series 70, semi-automatic. Okay, captain's pantry here. This is where his kitchen was here. And of course, when you look at a table here now, what you look at, notice everything's covered in white. That means it's a formal dinner. Anytime you see that kind of covering, okay? If you see the covering in this next room, By the way, this is the captain's office when he's in. It's sure he goes in there. We'll see it from the other end. But that's where he was. The Admiral's kitchen's down there. Now notice the coloring is blue in here.
Yeah.
That means it's a captain's mess. You're in trouble. You don't want to be here when that's blue. If it's green, then it's a business meeting. Okay, but this is how you would look when you walk into a room to see what the setting was going to be, whether it would be a formal like you saw out there, or a captain's mess or business meeting. This shows you some of the, interesting here. Notice, this is the way the carriers looked back then. This one was not, didn't have a dazzle, didn't have a camouflage on it. The camouflage was blue because it was going to be in the Pacific. And if you've ever been in the Pacific Ocean, you know how blue that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guys were having trouble finding it at times with the planes. It was so good. But that's normally, and so we kept it that way because of the Japanese thinking it's a ghost ship. So they continued.
Live up to the name.
Live up to the name. They've always left it here. Now this shows you here all the different movies, as I mentioned here. By the way, this is the aircraft type. Oh, that's a cod. I'm sorry. This one here. This is the aircraft that I maintained back then. It was an anti-submarine aircraft here. I worked on all the navigation equipment. It was loaded with electronics. Excellent. It was for anti-submarine tracking. It had med gear. It had ACMs. It had radar. It was everything you could think of on this ship. It was an excellent, but the helicopters took over. They went to a jet version of this, and then the helicopters took over. The helicopters are much better. They had a scene. They showed us a movie at when I was at boot camp, or when I was going training for the deal, and they showed the guys laying sonobuoys. They were tracking a Russian submarine in the Gulf, and so the Russians came up, picked all the sonobuoys up, and then went down. It was international waters, so they kept it. And this shows you the other War and Remembrance here with Robert Mitchum and so forth. And that was the two movies. Then, of course, Pearl Harbor, which you're familiar with. Okay, that's about. But this, by the way, guys, when I was mentioning paranormal, this is the most wild room here. Alarms go up like crazy in here. I've never seen anything like this room. I'm still amazed.
That's crazy stuff.
It is. And you got to come back if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Man, we got the. I've never seen what we got. Now this is the Admiral's quarters. You can see who the boss on the ship was. It wasn't the Admiral. And the captain had nice quarters. This is what the Admiral slept on. This was his. He was in charge of the fleet. Captain is always in charge of his ship. Right? Mm-hmm. Let's go through here. Now, all these plastic here usually designates that room as air conditioned. They want to keep the air conditioning in.
Yeah, we are filming this in July in Texas, so it's very warm.
Yeah. This is the captain's office here when he's in port. He would be in there. Very seldom goes in there, though. Okay. Now, this drives me crazy. And you're about the same. What are we, 6'2"?
Yeah.
I'm 6'1", and I'm always hitting my head. I don't know how these guys walked around up here. They had to be midgets. I'm going to tell you, this area all across here is, I'm sorry, vertically challenged. I'm going to say midgets, right? That extension cord there is for, that's the event if you have a power loss. There's these biscuits on the wall. And they took that one out. Oh, here's one here. Let me show you this. It's got three-phase power, 3 circuits here of 3-phase power. You use that extension cord, you put that in there and go into your office and plug it into your box in there, and you got power to your room. Mm. That's emergency power. It's on a different, a diesel generator, emergency generator. Only comes on when you lose power. Now, this room's kind of dedicated to the Enterprise. As you say, we're talking about different events through the ship. They had the most battle stars. We had 13. These guys were in every battle in World War II, and they never were put out of service. We were a couple times. Okay, listen. Can you listen to the voice here? Do you recognize it? Or are you too young to recognize it? Walter Cronkite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They talk about this. Shows you some of the. Well, this is how would you say? It's kind of a shady. What do you call room here? This is for where the pilots would come and get briefed and debriefed. Okay, ready room. I was saying, ready room in here. Normally, this whole room would be filled with chairs. They just threw these in here for show right now. Okay, and this shows you different displays when you cross the international date line, what they did to you. Although, you know, domain work. I never crossed the international date line, so I didn't have to worry about that stuff. But you can see what they did to them. Not interesting. Okay, anything else in here? All this stuff is from the Enterprise. This whole room is dedicated to them. Okay, what do we got? No. Let's move on. CV-6. See, that was a cruiser. That was a cruiser hull carrier. This is probably the greatest movie, and I will go in there and I'll tell you about it more closely. That was me. This shows you all our uniforms for officers, winter, fall, summer, and that's a Navy summer. Now, this guy was a radioman. You see the sparks and the wings of aviation radioman. And he would fly with a plane, and he'd be working the radio. They did away with that rate, and now they got it back again. They put it back in there. But all this is paraphernalia from different, donated to us, and their names are on there and who they were donated from. This is in the movie, again, Pearl Harbor. This is the ready room that they filmed.
Welcome to the VB-19 Ready Room exhibit.
This is, when you watch the movie, this is it here. That is actual names of people that were assigned to those aircraft. The pilot, the gunner, and the number you see is the tail number. It says plane 6, 9, 11, 14, 6. That's your tail number, so that's how I knew what plane you were assigned. Okay, but the reason I say that is because I was giving a tour here one time, and one guy stayed back. He was taking pictures back here, and I came back to get him, you know, because we were moving on, and he was crying. I says, "What's the matter? Did you hurt yourself?" He said, "No." He said, "That Kennard is his brother."
Wow.
And that's all, you know, that's the only remnants he had of him. He got shot down. Again, look, we went up. Notice it's O2. You know, that means we're going up. The hangar deck is number 1. That's the main deck. And as you go up, they go O1, O2, all the way up to O10. Living quarters, frames, and so forth. Tells you what division's in here. OC. Officers. Now, I always like to show this. This is, by the way, now the USS Cabinet. They made it a smaller carrier. But what I would like you to look at is look at the propellers on this ship. You notice how they're staggered?
Yeah.
The middle ones are further out, and the inside ones. When we got hit by a torpedo, we got hit by the number 2. And it jammed the rudder. And we were sitting there going in a circle for about 20, 30 minutes. Now, each one of those props is individually controlled. So I could run that one on the outers at 1 speed. I could run the other 2 on this side that were still there. I could run them in like a reverse or something like that, just try to stay. It took about 20 or 30 minutes to stabilize the ship. It takes 8 miles to stop this ship. 8 miles.
That's incredible. Yeah, these are massive, massive ships. Yeah.
But that's the reason they do that, because it's more efficient. They put the props like that because if they were all lined up, it would be a lot of prop wash, and you lose a lot of efficiency. That's why they did it that way. But all your ships like that are set up that way. Now this one here, this was I don't know if this is a ready room or not. This film here is really a good film. There was a movie made on us in U-505. I think what's his name was in that, what's that guy's name? The one who was in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford. This guy spent his career, Captain Daniel Gallery, trying to capture a German sub. Now, we're talking about German now in Berlin. But he finally caught this one, and this is the story about it. They interviewed both the German crew and the American crew. And we were actually able to get on there. They had set it to blow up, but they didn't booby trap it. So they opened the valves to make it flood.
Yeah.
And so our guys got in there and shut the valves off, and the booby traps weren't set, so they were able to save the ship. But the bad thing about it was he had to drag it around the Atlantic for about 6 months because we got all their Enigma gear, all of their classified stuff, codes and everything, okay? So we had both, towards the end of the war, we had both the Japanese and the Germans codes. And so he had to keep dragging that ship around, because if he brought it into port and the spies saw it, then they changed their codes, right? So it was a plus and a minus.
Yeah, incredible story though, yeah.
Good enough, let's head through here. This shows you some of the Army that was on here. Some of the Army guys that were, we brought back, they were thankful. A lot of these are Navy, but this is, that's a boatswain's mate, crossed anchors. In here, that's the ship that sunk. That's the one that captured this submarine, and this is the one they had to drag this submarine around. The Pillsbury. The Phipps, I forgot to show you that one. In here, it shows you. This is for the kiddies. Shows you all the different type aircraft that were flown on the carriers through the different portholes. They tell you about them. The Dauntless and the F. That was this one was the F4F Wildcat. That was the Zero Killer. That was its name, nickname, Zero Killer. Okay. You could spend days just reading all this. There's a lot of good information here, but you don't need to see all that.
Yeah, just an incredible amount of information with the planes and the ship, yeah.
Okay, now, this is your control for your aircraft. This is your how would you say, your aircraft carrier traffic control center, like you would see at your normal airport. That would be they would track our own plane.
Yeah.
As we go to the next one here, this is air ops. This is everything that's going on around you. In fact, they usually have, notice the lighting, as I mentioned to you, the red lighting here. You can hear them. I don't know where they picked this stuff up from. But the neat job is that guy behind the glass over there. He's got to write backwards. We had a class for high school kids, and we used to do that. That's fun. Did you ever try to write your name backwards?
I have not. I know it's a tough skill.
It is a tough skill. And then here's the CIC here. And this is where we keep track of everything that's going on here. That shows you all the aircraft. This is everything that's happening. They got maps of the coastlines and so forth. And again, that guy's got to write backwards over there. I think there's a button here.
Yes, sir. We have multiple enemy aircraft inbound. Bearing 175 degrees. Range 15,000.
You're going to see Rusty come on here. He's number 2 in charge here of displays. He's getting ready to retire.
Aye, sir. Sound general quarters.
General quarters, all hands man your battle station.
Try to make it as lifelike as possible.
Yeah, notice the eyes and everything as you watch. Well, he's going to appear over here somewhere. Where is
Excuse me, sailor. I don't believe there's anything wrong with the lighting that caused that malfunction.
He's not.
Welcome to the Combat
It didn't work.
Information Center, also known as CIC.
Well,
This
you
is
have
the
to make note of
tactical
that.
warship, providing
Rusty's not working in the CIC.
of the new battle
This picture should have been there. Back in. This is your CPO quarters here. Lounge is where they stayed. Again, you can see this. Again, we're on the starboard side. I should have showed you over there. We were on the port side. This is the odd number.
No way to get lost now.
No way to get lost. This drives me crazy trying to walk through here. Watch your head in here. This is terrible. I usually wear a hard hat.
Yeah, what up? Yeah.
Oh my God. What was the other one?
Go out here. Oh, God, I thought it was one of the clip-on. Sorry. All right, flight deck.
Much windier up here.
Yeah, you may have a little. This was all wooden deck at one time when it was a single deck. You can see where they added over there. These aren't the original guns that were on here. We had double stacks, and when this became a training ship, they took all the guns off. And our brass is in the committee, salvage committee, down in Valley area there. We had the Monterey, not the Monterey, I'm sorry, the Des Moines. It was a heavy cruiser. They took the guns off it, and they stripped them down. They had to crane them from the bases over there, crane them here, and original Ruby Tough gun.
Yeah, okay.
That is the exact
Oh,
crane.
cool.
They gave it to us. Let's see if we can get around here. You notice there's no engines in it. Now you look at this one here. This is an F-14A. Speed sometimes is not that good.
If you can't maintain control, yeah.
Yeah, being able to. Now this shows you what the deck originally looked like over here. Although it makes me mad, when they first did this, they uncovered it. They were going to put a coating on it and seal it, you know, and they didn't. And look at it now; it's deteriorated. They used to use what they call teak wood because it would not absorb moisture. Now that's getting as firm. But so if you had an accident up here, you can't have the planes. You had an accident in this, you got to bring it into the port to have it done. Because you punch a hole in the deck area, it's going to be a mess. This shows you the different aircraft that were on here. That's the old T4 jet, pretty common. I'm thinking, no, is it? Yeah, I think that was the one that John McCain flew. That was the type of aircraft he flew. You remember John McCain?
Yes.
And this is the guy that was in that hologram. That's the plane he flew. His name was Rocco. That was our boss here for a while. That was an A6. That was, mostly Marines use that, but it was for close support in battle conditions. Field tanks, and it showed you. They actually put armament on them. I don't think they put missiles on them, though. They even play with camouflage here. That's an Australian, Israel type camouflage. I don't know what the red star means there. Anything you see painted orange and white like that is a trainer. That's the old F2s. They have an F9 here. That's when they were first coming out when I got in. We didn't have helicopters back then, though. That's your missile launchers and rocket launchers there.
So it's quite windy up here right now. Does the wind get very bad at certain points here?
It's been terrible lately.
Okay.
But it's always windy here. It's always bad. Corsair, this was the Vietnam era. This is the biggest plane that took off and landed on this ship here. This is an A3 bomber.
Where have a lot of these planes come from? Other museums?
Pensacola. Yeah, Pensacola supplies us. One thing I wanted to show you here. Now, what they did with these planes here, by the way, I forgot to mention, later on they changed it from a bomber to a tanker. And so what they would do anytime we had rough weather out there in the ocean, they would launch this thing off with fuel, and then the pilots, they're going to need 2 or 3 tries to get in. He'll be able to refuel them because a lot of times they're about on empty when they get back. So he would go out and refuel planes. Now here, one thing, it's hard to see the whole thing from here, but we got a series. You see this track over here, that yellow?
Yeah.
It's a series of white lights. It's in a line straight down. Before they had radar and all that stuff, pilot would approach it, and as long as it stayed in a straight line, they were okay. If it started to put an angle on it, you were off glide path. That's how they maneuvered to land. And that was the LSO officer over there. He'd be doing the flags and the routine. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if they got radar, it's much easier. Landing radar. Let's go down here. I worked at NASA for about 16 years. I was on a shuttle program. I was a mission manager on a shuttle program for a large format camera. Anyway, they brought me up on top of the launch pad, and it was all open grading, 250 feet in the air, and I didn't realize I was afraid of heights. I got off the elevator and
That's a tough way to find out.
I had to repaint all the rails on the way down. They walk you down. They bring you up to the top, and they show you all the safety places, where the basket was to get off and all that kind of stuff. Eye washes were and so forth. So man, I could not believe I was afraid of heights. 250 feet. Now these barrels you see here are life rafts. There's a 15-man life raft with food for about 5 days. It has water. It has kits to make convert salt water, pills and so forth. These are your ACAC guns here. We let the kids play with these. You can actually turn. Kids can get up in here and turn it. And we got a little pedal here. Simulates the gun shooting. It's pretty cool for kids. This one turns it side to side. The one on the other side moves the guns up and down. Somebody's, it looks like they're uneven. It looks like something broke here. I don't think they move up and down now. Let me see. Oh no, they still do. Okay. They still move. This one doesn't have anything hooked up.
Are there always kind of new pieces of technology like that being added to the ship?
Displays.
Displays.
Every year they come up with something new.
Yeah.
They got some where you would practice landing on a carrier. And actually, again, now they have it down on a new display. The original one they had got too complicated, and it was like a game.
A flight simulator.
Yeah, it wasn't quite a flight simulator,
Okay.
but it was like it wasn't true. This is where your gunner mates they would be here, always by the guns. This is where they stayed all the time. We're going in to look at the arresting gear area here. Air conditioners. We'll stay in here for a while. Huh? Now this is a hydraulic system here. I mentioned it was 4. You can see the size of the cables down here. What this is a 9-to-1 ratio. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute here. This is where it sits here. You got your accumulator tank and then your pistons here. Plane comes in. It comes in going 120 to 140 knots. That's 1.1 miles per knot. So that's about 160 miles an hour, okay? Give or take a mile here or there. And it allows it to capture it and it'll allow it to travel 300 feet and it'll stop it dead, okay? Now, on the cables, they use them 4 times and then they change them. If they're used 4 times, they automatically change them.
So you're worn out quickly.
Yeah, you don't want to put a lot of tension on the brake on there. This is the whole system. This is number 1. As you saw upstairs, there's 4 of them, and the other 2 on They're in areas we don't go into anymore. They have 2 and 3 are together, and then 4 is separate down there, like this room. This is how you would set it up. Of course, we always know the weight of our aircraft. And we're flying like an A6, you would dial it up. Here, you would dial this in to 360, and this would have the right tension for that type of aircraft. And you notice here, if you count them, there's 9 of them here, cables, and there's 1 going up. It's your 9-to-1 ratio going up. That's how they slow it down.
So all of this equipment is just to slow the plane down when it's landing.
This is all your resting gear. They call
Yeah.
it. Yeah, your resting gear. Once it's captured, and I say the rookies always grab this one. The pros grab number 3. That's a stigma. You know, they got to do that. Got a light on. That room's closed. They used to have show you what was in those barrels, but it's downstairs. I'll have to show you down there. Okay, that's another ACAC there. This is a 3-inch gun here. This is interesting here. This is like what I would call a big shotgun. What they do is they put the shell in here and they set so many seconds before it explodes. So when they fire at a plane, they'll fire the cartridge at it and then it explodes, sending shrapnel all around, you know, like a shotgun.
Yeah.
Basically. And you see the dial here, you would dial in how far you wanted to go out. Of course, it's all eroded now, you can barely read it. You can barely read that, but you would dial in how far you wanted to travel before it moved by seconds. Okay. How many seconds you flew. It's pretty neat. We got 2 of these that we saw.
And these are all World War II era.
This is all World War II era. And if say it was a submarine or something now, they wouldn't put any delay on it. They'd fire right at it. Try to knock it out of the water. That's their defense against submarines. And then of course they had they used to have in the corner there, they used to have a display of what was in those barrels. They moved it downstairs. I don't know why, but I guess they painted it. That's why they did it. Let's head up. That's where over here's where your landing officer was. Notice you don't see it here because this side of the ship rusted them all out, but we had netting like you see here, all to be out here. I'll show you some on the other side, but everything on this side rusted out. See, the salt air is tough on it. This is your landing officer's area here. That's the guy with the flags, and normally he would be set up here. They got radar now and so forth. Watch a landing, and they can see everything on here. If he's on glide path or whatever, you know. Show it. Oh, we lost Hattie. I didn't know she didn't go with us. Notice the flag. Can you hear me talking? Yeah. Notice the flag up there. That's where the Japanese kamikaze hit. Your radar and stuff are all up there. Yeah. That black covering was where the radar dish was. This was ingrained in us, that area. It was a safe area. not to cross those lines.
So what is this section of the ship now?
Now we're going on the bridge.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like an oven in these places.
From the sailors that served on the ship that you talked to, was the heat and temperature a constant issue? Was that something they...
No, not where they were.
Okay.
No, not as much as it would be sitting here. Humidity and all that jazz, no. There's something coming out in radar. I don't know what it is. Usually the ships are in yellow squares. That red line is moving for some reason. That's controlled by them. We don't have any control over that. This was your Loran gear here. Back in those days, of course, we didn't have GPS, none of that jazz. So they used master-slave setup of Loran. They'd be set up on a coastline. You would trigger them. They would give you DME, in other words, distance from them, and what direction you were traveling, north, south, east, you know, compass, and keep you away from the shoreline.
Yeah.
As far as you're coming in. Then, of course, GPS came out. After I left NASA, I worked for Lockheed. Well, I was Lockheed the whole time, Lockheed Martin, and I spent 31 years in the service. And I used to talk to the pilots all the time. We worked with DU-2s and SR-71s, and they would tell us that GPS was not going to be commercialized, never. And look at that. Well, it's not as accurate. You know, they said they would distort it some. But it's not as accurate. You notice when you're traveling somewhere, it'll tell you you're there.
Right, it's not always 100%. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Interesting.
But it was funny. They said that because they were using that back in the 70s. That's when I first run into GPS. Okay, let's head on through here. Now this is the captain's cabin I was talking about here. Anytime he's at sea, he's here. This is where he stays. And he's always right near the helmsman here, who's steering the ship and so forth. So he can be woken easily if anything's going on. Let's head over here. Ooh, man, that feels good. Needed that. Okay, this is your wheel here. The helmsman would be here. Say you were the helmsman here, and I was the duty officer. What I would do, if I wanted you to turn, I'd tap you on the shoulder like this. I wouldn't talk to you. Or if I wanted you to go that way, I'd tap you that way. This is how we talk to the guys below in the engine room here. We tell them what speed we wanted them at and so forth. We would dial in the revolutions of the shafts, which there used to be a chart up here that broke down revolutions of the shaft to miles per hour. This ship, for the longest time, was classified. They wouldn't let us know. And finally, they declassified it. This ship could go 38 knots, which is over 40 miles an hour.
That's impressive for a ship this size, yeah.
Now, the newer ones are even more impressive. Of course, they got, this had 16-inch props. The newer ones had 21, and they're variable pitch, though. These are fixed. So they had an episode happen out in the Caribbean. Or no, it was in the Caribbean. A cruise ship. A kid had attack appendicitis, and they called for help. They didn't have the kind of equipment they needed to do that. And it so happened I forget which one it was, whether it was the Bush or the anyway, notified one of our ships, and one of the newer ships, nuclear types, and Reuters announced when they got the call, and when they got there, they were going over 60 miles an hour. those big ones. And they were all upset because they were able to figure that out. There's a bunch of these sound-powered phones, as you see here, all wired in. I forgot to mention down there in the secondary conn that is a replica of everything you see here. They've taken out the magnetic compass and so forth that was down there before, using a display somewhere else, because nobody goes there normally. Okay, but this is the secondary conn would be a replica of this whole thing here. There's gyros here, and that's your rudder and so forth here. Anyway, these are your foghorn and alert horns that you would use when you're going through, like in fog and so forth and so on. I was talking about the magnetic compass here. Now, if you lose a gyro, you lose power to a gyro, it takes 24 hours for them to stabilize again, okay? And you can't have that happen in a situation where you lose power. Of course, we got a lot of backups for it now, but they didn't back then. They would never lose recovery. But anyway, if they do, what they do is they set this magnetic compass here to read the same as with these balls here, because this is armor plating in this room. You can imagine it's pretty solid.
Right.
You got fields in here and everything else. And so what they do is they adjust this to make this read the same as that, and they fix them. And then if we lose that, it's not as accurate, of course, but it'll give you some kind of way to use the compass. Travel.
Navigate still.
Yeah, navigate is what I'm trying to say. This is where you let the anchor out here. This is your control for letting the anchor out. It tells you how many feet you're letting out. It would be, they always talk in, what's that terminology? It's 56 feet. It's, I can't remember now. Anyway, these are your voice tubes. You want to talk to somebody down in damage control, is directly below us, all the way down to the bottom of the ship. You can yell in these things. It's the actual voice tubes here. One thing I want you to do, oh, they got this one. Is this one tied down too? No. Grab this, feel the weight of that flak shield.
It's very, very heavy.
They're usually closed up in here. That'd be a magic bullet to hit you through here. During World War II in the beginning, before the ship was modified, this was all open. This area was all open. The guys would be up here with binoculars. And then when jet age come, you know, they got the shields to direct the stream upward, so they had to put windshields in. They covered this all up when they modified it. Okay, that's the captain's chair there. It's the red phone right here. Okay, and when he wants to talk to anybody, this was commercial radar here. When it was a training ship, they used that. And this is where the captain, I believe the air boss was there and the navigator was over there. That's where they stayed. And these are, we have two master gyros. One is a backup, one is the main one. We have 8 repeaters. This is a repeater. We got 8 of these like this. Okay? This feels good. That wind feels good now. Oh, you got me blocked off. Down here is where the halyard was. You can't see it now. There's a flag box. I don't know if you can see it or not. In there, every letter of our alphabet and numbers have a flag. So if I want to set a code, like an acronym, I would run it up the flag. That's what the admiral's job was. And that would tell the fleet what kind of formation he wanted the rest of the fleet to get in. They look up the code book. They would do whatever he told them to do. But everything was spelled out to them in the flags. Every flag represented a letter, and they had them for numbers too. This is where the admiral's quarters were, right here, where his station was. You know, the captain was up there. He had his own area down here. Okay, I can take you back here if you want to see it. There's nothing to. There's nothing in there right now. Let's see it now. They had a fire in here, and ever since then they closed this to the public. Oh, there's water in here. Okay, the rain's collecting in here, and it's starting to rust here. But anyway, it was set up like there. Setup was up here. Let me get out of the way. You can look in there. See, that's what I'm talking about.
constantly trying to keep it out. Yeah.
And you can see it's rusted. You get areas you can't get to. Nobody's even noticed this probably. See your flak shields here. You can see it where the those areas there. You might be able to get up close and look in there. But he had all the same equipment as upstairs. And again, there's another one of those repeaters. One of the 8 we have. I can't take you up any further than that. It gets pretty hectic up there. I can't show you that area.
How many people are typically working on kind of restoring the ship and keeping it in order?
Well, I'll show you the list downstairs.
Okay.
They have a working crew. Some of them are volunteers. The majority of them are paid workers. So we have about 100 volunteers.
I think we've got 70 or 80
Workers? Yes, I want to take you into the gun. Otherwise, we go down right here. We had a big 4th of July celebration here. Fireworks went off in the city, and they had the people up here with chairs.
Amazing, watching fireworks from an aircraft
And
carrier.
they let them ride the elevator down, the aircraft elevator. Man, that was spectacular. It was a thrill that nobody normally would get. Wow. Okay, you had 11 guys working here, and it was like a team. It showed you here all the barrel information and how far it would travel. 9.8 miles the shell would travel. Crew, you had a mount captain, there was 11 men. Powder man, projectile man. You got a guy putting the shells in there. You got a guy that's getting bags. Shells come up here, bags come up over there, and you put the bags in behind the shells, stuff them in there and fire.
These were primarily to fight back against planes? Or?
Yeah, planes or other ships, or hitting the beachhead.
You can hear the sound of the guns.
That is Lexington firing their gun. That's what it originally looked like. You see them four mount, there's only 2 mounts.
Yeah.
They had been on top. But one thing,
That's 2 turrets.
where is it? 15 to 22 rounds per minute they fired out of here. That is spectacular. That is all.
How many guys would work in here
11.
at a time? 11? Okay, yeah. That's a lot of guys in here.
And it was scary because if one guy made a mistake, could cost the whole crew.
Yeah.
You had your pointers over here. These big guys be sitting in chairs, got one on each side. This guy's controlling the mount. You can see the wheels turning over there. He'd be sitting in that deal there, and he'd be turning the guns like you saw upstairs. Same thing there. He would turn those, and the guy over there would move the platform. One would move the guns up and down. One moves the platform.
Yeah.
That was smart. Now, if you look out here, you can see the elevator right here.
Yes.
That's the aircraft elevator, goes up and down. That's what you walk in on. Okay. You can see all the porta potties. We had them up here. They're just now getting rid of them all. Yeah. Okay, we're done up here. This is something unique here. Don't show up here, does it? No, it was here. think the ones down there. This is an escalator. This was built for the pilots. The pilots, because they had to wear like parachutes and the equipment they had to wear, they couldn't go through hatches. So they put an escalator. This went up and down. There's a control where you can flip it going one way, and you want to go the other, you flip it up, and it brings it up. But this was all, we stole parts off the Oriskany that came here to be, I think they made a barge out of it in Florida, but they had to strip all the lubricants and everything out of it. And we stole the parts to fix this, and we put them in a pile, and the guy who was in charge of it, they saw that pile, and he thought it was trash, and he threw it all away. God, we were mad. We were going to have this thing working. But it's still cool. I let people go up and down. You don't have to go up 3 levels climbing this.
Right.
It's only 1 level. Oh, different details on here. There's some interesting stuff here. Like how many times, how far we get on a tank of gas. 30,000 miles. If you're going at cruising speed. If you're going full flank ahead, I think you get 5,000. It talks about how many miles this ship has traveled. A lot of interesting facts here. They used to give a quiz on it. Yeah, telephones, 5,000. Three football fields, actually 910 feet long, and with the overhang and everything they added on, is a total of about 1,008 feet, yards, feet. There were 3 football fields. You play 14 basketball games up there.
It's a lot of space.
3 football fields, yeah. Okay, let's go to 4 now. She was our ship historian. She died 2014, but she was great. She would always look up things for us and get the facts.
Yeah, very helpful.
Well, people always come and ask you questions. Sometimes you get stumped, you know? Like one guy come on one day and says, where's the torpedo room? My dad used to work in the torpedo room. Well, I look at all the, there ain't no torpedo room. I know they had torpedo planes on here, and when the original version, they had a torpedo room. But when they redid the ship, they threw all the schematics away. Because they redid the whole ship.
Oh, okay.
And so you couldn't tell where it was. It drove us crazy. We went for about a month back and forth trying to find where it would have been. Let me go backwards here. Now this is tour 4 we're going on here. This will be the engine room 2. It'll be the infirmary and a few, the dentist area. And the smell you smell here is what we call ship smell. You always smell that diesel fuel. This was a grade 6 fuel oil. At room temperature, it would be hard as a rock. So they had to keep it at 145 degrees. And I didn't realize that when, you know, all these tank farms over here, that oil has to be at 200 degrees. Make that oil move around, won't coagulate. And that's what we did here. This is interesting here. One of our volunteers found this in a flea market in Chicago. What it is a model of a guided missile cruiser, Boston class, as you see there. Notice the detail on it and everything. They put that in a radar field. They sweep it and they template it. That's what a Boston, guided cruiser Boston class looks like on radar. So they did that, had a bunch of models like that. That's all brass.
Wow, interesting.
And that's how they would template them, so when it showed up, they knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. This is your enlisted man's barbershop here, officers there. They had to be by appointment. In here, they come as you are. You just walk in, and there's always a joke. You know, they get you in a chair and they'll say, "You want me to take a little bit off here, a little bit?" Yeah. Zip. You know, the whole it gets sickening after a while. You're tired of their routine, but they think it's funny. That was, I didn't think it was funny, but anyway, this was the Enlist Man's Barbershop. One thing to note here, this is a guy who was famous in that magazine, what is Stars and Stripes, Hank Caruso. He is famous for these caricatures, they call them, as you look at here. He painted 4 on this ship. Well, he didn't paint them, he had a list of men paint them, but he designed them and had them put on the wall here. This is the only one. I've seen the others, they weren't as good as this one here, because they didn't take care of them down there.
This is super fun though, yeah, very
look at
unique
it.
style.
Catch a mitt, and typical Navy and humor, you know how it is. We were always good for that kind of stuff. Okay, let's head on here. That felt good for a minute. This was the ship's store right here. This is where you bought magazines, stripes, uniforms, you know, all kinds of good as you needed. This is where it was, but now we have one of our volunteers as the head of Texas Models. I hadn't seen the guy in age. I don't know if he's still alive or not. This is built probably about 10 years ago. He put this in here. But all these planes you see here are winners of contests in the state of Texas. And they have their names on here, as you can see, what type of plane it was and what the name was and so forth. They have everything but a C-130. I don't know why they don't have a C-130, but I got every aircraft to date.
These models they're beautiful, yeah.
Oh,
the details are amazing.
Oh, the Spitfire and a lot of British aircraft and so forth. And here's where I get into it here. You know, they talk about the Blue Ghost here. If you read through here, in one of the areas here, it says Lady Lex. Where is it? Yeah, see what I mean? Instead of calling it the Blue Ghost. So, when you talk to the former crewmen, they had mixed emotions on it. This is a list I was telling you about of the guys that were killed during, and notice there are a lot of officers as you get down here. This is the one that got me here, but when you think about it, when they're putting classified stuff on, nobody knows who they are. It was probably one of these officers here was with them when they got killed. I think they know now probably, but at the time when this was made, they didn't know.
And this is from the kamikaze attack.
Kamikaze attack, yeah. And one thing unique here, that's my name, my last name. That is my dad's cousin. I remember as a 6-year-old coming to his coming home party after he was wounded. I was 6 years old. I remember that, 1944. Well, he came home about 45, 46, I believe. Because I was born in 41, so I was about 6 when that happened. I remember it. When I saw that, I didn't know he was on this ship. And when I first started working here, I saw my name there. I said, whoa, how many times did you see that name? Yeah. Okay, we're going in here. This is what we call the kamikaze room here. By the way, do you know what the word kamikaze means?
Something like a storm?
Divine wind. There's the whole story right there. Interesting area. The Mongolians had an invasion fleet. They got hit by a typhoon and wiped them out. This is memorabilia from all the different guys had given to us, Japanese and both American, even the money. This was interesting here. We, for the longest time, were told this was a kamikaze flag that was given to the families of the kamikaze pilots. And it turns out there was a gentleman from Japan came here, wasn't it, and took a photograph of this. And when he got back home, he showed it to people back home. And it turned out it was a good luck flag for their father. He was one of their relatives that saw this. and so we had the original. This is a photocopy here. They've redone it here. And they've taken this over to Japan and presented it to the family.
Wow, that's really neat.
They told us about it. They sent an email to the guy that runs the show here, Steve, and asked what can they do to get it back or get a copy of it. And he says, hey, we'll give you the flag. And so we had a big ceremony here, and then they had a big ceremony over there. Now this is interesting here. This is another thing that a lot of people don't know about here. We call this a baka, a bomb. It is in Japanese it means stupid, okay? But it wasn't that stupid. It's the advent of the missile. This was carried by a Betty bomber, and they'd have to launch it off there. It had a range of 125 miles, which they couldn't take off or land, okay? It was a kamikaze. And there'd be a pilot, it was manned. He was in it. They used it at the end of the war, and they knocked out a couple of our ships. Okay, that's when we got serious and did the atomic bomb thing. But that thing was rocket powered. It went 650 miles an hour. Back in those days, that was only the V2 did that. So the Japanese were almost there, you know? And that was interesting. We call it baka, they call it suicide attack. This is some of the history here from the newspapers back then, both Japanese and American. I don't like this video. This shows you, it's animated. The original one we had wasn't animated. It makes me mad because they showed a lot of raw footage, you know? You saw the actual deals and so forth. We almost lost a carrier of this class called the Franklin. And what had happened on that is just as what happened with the CV-2, Japanese pilots come in behind and bombed this aircraft carrier, and all the decks collapsed. I mean, it was totally wiped out. And they turned the boilers, stoked up the boilers, turned the engines on, and drove all the way back to New York from the Pacific. And they scrapped it after that, but it didn't sink. That's why they say they were unsinkable. But here they do animation, and I don't like it. It's okay in some ways. Here is what was left of the kamikaze pilot that hit our ship. There's his arm, as you can see it there. This talks about the torpedo. It hit us, the casualties, and it mentions, they talk a little bit about Tokyo Rose here. This is where I normally tell my story about Tokyo Rose, but you had to tell it upstairs. But this is, this was it here. There was 9 guys killed and about 34 wounded. And it was that's a piece of flak that hit this guy, so he put it on his dog tag and wore it around.
Wow.
He gave it to us. He carried that around.
And the artifacts
Yeah.
on here are just amazing.
But you know, I was a Navy. We never wore our Donald Duck hat. Never wore that. I don't know if anybody did.
It's a more stylish sailor.
Some did it. Now, this area we're going into now is where this carrier was the first to have women aboard. All the carriers, this was the first one to have them. And this is where they were boarded up here, or berthed as they call it, berth. And you can see here, you always had the holler man aboard coming in here. But I should have mentioned this here. These are all your remote control devices for all your steam, and somebody would check these all the time, come with a list and say, hey, this should be on, this should be it, what's calling. They're red and green lights here to show they're off and on, and so forth here. And then they had a manual crank. This would take care of the valves down below, that if you couldn't shut them off and you had to get out of there quickly, you can turn them off from here remotely. There's a bunch of these stations located all around here. But this is where the women were housed in here. There was initially 100 waves that came aboard when the first crew. I met the lady who was the first one on here, who was in charge. She was a first class petty officer. She's now retired chief, running a ROT squad up in Maryland somewhere. I think she's since died now.
What year was that when they first?
That was 79, 80.
Okay.
1970, 1980 time frame. Because I hear one story of 8 coming on here, and then I heard, well, she told me she was the original. But originally somebody told me there was 8 that came in 79. Okay, so I always say 79, 70, 80 just to be accurate as I can. She brought on 100 when she came on. Okay, and this is their area. This is where they had a setup here for watching TV, or they had a gamut, one of them card tables or something. And you see the racks as you look here. We get better views here. Again, here's stripes. Now this is a corpsman. You see, you saw that symbol. That's a corpsman, Navy corpsman. Okay. I said down here. They had a curtain here. Had a curtain. They got a light inside. Here, she's in the middle here. This is called a coffin. This is where we put our clothes in. This is after I got out. I got out in '62. They started having these on. They usually have them the first 2 levels. As you can see, you can open it up. There's a handle over there, and you sleep on your clothes, which is great because God dang it, I used to go out on deals they had us doing at boot camps. I come back and my clothes are all over the floor. And what? I didn't fold my socks right or something. And they throw everything out and you got to put it all back in. I used to make, this would have been great for me back then.
This way
I could lock it, padlock it, or I'm on it, they can't get into it. Okay, that's it through here. We got a new display we're all excited about. We just opened up. Now it isn't officially opened yet. I take it back. It hasn't officially opened yet, but it is,
Soft opening.
soft opening, yeah. Is that how they pronounce it?
That's the marketing term.
Yeah, marketing term. You got it.
It's really, really cool.
I like this. It's really neat. You come on in here. This gives you the history of Rosie the Riveter. They told it there was actually 2 photographs of Rosie the Riveter. Here they are here. This is the original one they put out. Then the magazine Post put this one out and tried to say this is Rosie the Riveter, but this was the original. And they found out later, and we got that symbol. We can do it. And you had Winnie the Welder, and you got all kinds. This was back. All the men had to go to war, so the women started doing men's work.
Yeah.
This is really neat setup they got here. So
These
you can work in
photos are really,
aircraft. Yes,
really
they're
impressive here.
Excellent photos.
Yeah.
Yes. And she was pretty young. Winnie and Welder there. What they set it up here, they set it up from 1908 to present day. And this is the different level. And they got pictures talking to each other.
Oh, wow.
This is, see, originally they were nurses. They weren't actually military.
To serve non-nursing capacity in any branch of the armed forces.
So they're talking about her.
In those days, not everyone.
Yeah, these exhibits are really neat here.
Frame number 104, frame 102, you see it? They are paint. Oh, all the pictures are. I think she was the first enlisted woman. Loretta Walsh. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where I was born and raised. Now, you probably didn't notice this girl. When we were walking in there, she was coming out. When I brought you in the lounge, she was coming out there smoking a cigarette. That was her. They got the girls here. Are you in one of these? You didn't make it, huh? So you got her, and this is another girl here.
So that's neat, yeah, using people from the ship, yeah.
Right. Shows the rates of pay. I mean, and this is my symbol here. This is what I was. See, electronic technician. That's the symbol right there. Wings on it and so forth. And they had women were in that rate too. We had the first women in that rate. And there's your radio men that they did away with, and now they brought it back. Join the waves, but they don't call them waves anymore. I didn't know that till this display was put up here. They're not waves, they're enlisted, they're sailors.
Yeah, this is really neat. I love the use of the screens and then the different models and things is really neat.
It's spectacular. They're supposed to have a hologram. This has been under development. I don't know what's happened here. This shows you some of the crew we're on here. They got all the crew that was on here back in See, it says 78, 80s. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Skill and leadership of women in the U.S. Navy. Her achievement inspires us all.
And that's the girl who used to work with us too.
The potential of women in the military.
Oh, where's that one? Oh, this gal here. She's the hot shot. She's the first pilot to land on the ship. And I've seen this gal. She's a character. Pretty sharp lady. That's pretty cool. Oh, they're bringing me back home now. There's a shuttle. I didn't know her. I worked at. Oh, this is the fun thing here. Put your feet on there. Raise your right hand. now, it'll keep, as long as you keep your hand up. No, it changes the size with the left hand. Keep it down. If you keep the right hand up, it'll keep changing. It's supposed to anyway. Hannah, what's happening? There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe you have to go up and down now. I don't know. You got a hat on and everything.
No, that's fun, yeah.
And then the left hand sizes it, brings it in larger, smaller. There's all the uniforms you would see they would put on you there. Oh, they haven't got the simulator going. God dang it! This was flying an F-18. And this is cool, but they had problems with the update. But this is one of my favorite things they've done here, and I'm hoping that what they got here is a map of the United States and what girls have served. So far, this is the only ones they've gotten response from. In other words, like you hit Texas here. Software working there?
It's getting, there you go.
And I hit it a couple times. There's the two they got here. Now, if you go closer, you go up here to, some of these have a lot more, like up in Pennsylvania. Only two there.
Yeah, that's neat though, the interactive.
And we're trying to get people to give us more information. If you ever run into waves and your young ladies that served in the Navy, they want them to send it to. There's the website's up there. I believe it's what is it?
The email address?
Yeah. A website. That's a website.com. They can go there and.
That's just the email.
Is that just email? I thought it was the website. The website is what is that? USS Lexington.
Yeah, USSLexington.com,
right? Yeah. Oh, this shows you. This is. These aren't like where the birthing area was and all that. These just show you girl coming up and down the stairs. That's all you see. But look here. This is what you had to climb up and down when you went up and down the stairs. That's your escape shuttles when you had to get out. That's kind of scary there. Some of them they go 180. The bars go like a 45-degree angle. And you can climb up that way. But then there, I'd be afraid to go up them.
Yeah.
And then they got a book over here, if you want to. She's doing the trivia. You any good at that? You can actually turn the pages of a book. Yeah, you sit here. Maybe I'm too fast for it today or something. There you go. Yeah,
there you go, yeah.
You read all about it. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
They did a lot.
It's really fun.
It's really
helps
nice
bring it all alive for people, yeah.
I don't like this. I wish they would. Hannah, I wish you'd get on them about this.
We'll submit a list at the end of the tour.
I'm always worried about somebody's going to fall over that.
I know.
And I told Steve, and
it's going to be me.
He's worried about it. And it's going to be me. It's what it is. But anyway, there's some more here, just showing just areas where they would work. I think it's almost the same thing. Escape shuttle too, yeah. But they got mannequins. Before they never had mannequins. When they put them in, they scared the hell out of all of us guys because we didn't know what was there, yeah. Especially with this paranormal stuff here.
I've definitely rounded the corner in a lot of museums with a mannequin there and been very surprised.
You're scared the heck out. And this is some of the photos of some of the past all the way up to, I think, the first admiral here, all the different first pilots, this, that, and the other. Captain was the first woman to command a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. Commander. Captain. AFFF, this is a aqueous film forming foam that turned out to be toxic. We're finding out now.
Oh.
Kind of scared a lot of us because in boot camp they make us use it. That's the only time I ever used it though, so I doubt it had any effect on me. But this was a portable one where you could put a sprayer on it and you had to carry it around.
And what was that used for?
That's fighting fires.
Okay, gotcha.
You could use CTO, wind would blow it. Like in the flight deck, water will wash off. This sticks to it, smothers it. Okay, it's really good. But we're finding out it's toxic. This is a Navy vernacular is a fire room, but it's really a boiler room is what it is, okay? There's 4 boiler rooms. This is number 3. Each one has 2 boilers in it. So 8 boilers total. They don't use them all. This is a machine shop. This is coming from the electric shop. See it going around the corner? The electric shop's over there. They bring heavy motors and transformers and stuff. They have changed windings on them. They bring them in here. How many? They had what? How many? I thought they had 11. We get stuck with 11 every time they say something anymore. No, it was 6 to 8, 6 to 8 machines. I think they had 11 guys that worked in here though. Anyway, this is one of the places they started putting mannequins in. The guy, maybe I turn around and see. That looks like one of our guys used to work here. But all these are functional and their dates are on there when they were put on the ship. All but one. A guy used to come in every Thursday and fire these up and then oil them down to make sure that because you can't go to AutoZone and buy parts for the ship, You have to have somebody make them. But if you need it in a hurry, you can do it yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fully equipped machine shop.
Yeah.
You can see these are called combs, and anytime you see that, it means it's a watertight door. You'll see some of them are just straight across the bottom. I'll show you as we get through here. Chow hall, we had the best chow for the first 6 months at sea, and then they went to powdered milk, powdered eggs, and it wasn't that good.
It dropped off quickly.
It dropped off quickly, but the deal was great. Food was great on Navy. This was your butcher shop in there, and this is where they cleaned the vegetables. But that one thing there in white, I'd never seen it. I don't know what that is. I can assume that it's a potato peeler, okay, what it says on the sign. We did it by hand. We never had a peeler.
They had one of those, they just didn't tell you.
Yeah, yeah. And when you look at the date on it, 1913, I wasn't that old. I was in 58 through 62. Laundry shop still intact down there. Everything is there. They haven't taken anything out of there. The washing machines, the dryers, and everything are still intact down there. Usually when we call a hard hat tour, we take people down there and show them. Okay, but we since of the heat, we don't do that.
Yeah.
This is your chow hall in here. We served 11,000 meals a day here. And what's interesting here, here's a breakdown by month. I think it's food, like bacon, 4,000 pounds, 3,000 eggs, dozens. I'm sorry, I was right. Hot dogs, so forth, so on.
A huge amount of food, yeah.
Yes. They run shifts the whole time here. We're almost through. We're gonna have to walk out of here anyway. This is a POW setup here, MIA. This is scary here. Guy took a picture of this wall here, and there was an image of the guy that did these displays. He had died a week before. And somebody had taken a camera and it showed his image right there on the side. But this is gives you what everything means on the table. Everything has a meaning as you go down the list. The lemon, the ways up, the Bible, so forth and so on. Pinch of salt, red ribbons, so forth. Okay. The tables in here are from the Saratoga. As you can see, they're not. They would have to be welded to the floor because they wouldn't move around like that. You can see where they used to be. There used to be about 5 in here, and they were all the length here, all the way across here. Okay, they put these cages up here. Okay. Let's head through here. I used to play tricks here. I step over the RF, the image deal.
Now hear this. Now
So
hear
I hate
this.
listening to this guy talk.
Okay.
We had 3 dentists in here.
During Lexington's 40 years of service in the U.S.
You stop and think about it now. We had 3 dentists on here. We only had 2 doctors on the ship, but we had 3 dentists. And the reason was, anytime a carrier goes to sea, it's never by itself. It always has a flotilla of ships. It could be 20, 30 ships, okay? Those guys could have, some of them could have EMTs. Some of the bigger ships might have a doctor, but not necessarily. It might be EMTs. But none of them had dentists. So this ship would supply dental work for all the other. They'd bring them over here and they'd work on them here. Now we were all self-sufficient. We made all our own crowns and impressions and so forth. And we did everything here. Anything you needed to be done, they could do. They could make it here. I don't know why they got a guy with a hat on there. That doesn't make sense. Okay, X-rays here. This was great. They shut it off. Dang it. They shut my favorite one. Oh, you can almost hear it.
You can hear the whirring.
Yeah, you can hear the drill. And then he goes, to bring back some memories. You know. And when I was in the Navy, they pulled out 4 teeth. And then the guy next to me was in the brig, and they had a Marine there with a gun. Had him in a chair, working on it. Whoa. It scared. Them guys are serious. This is where you normally would come in here. Okay, this was your down. You would come down the stairs. You wouldn't come off the chow hall. That was for guys to sneak out to get to the chow hall over there. Okay. And as you can see, when I talk about like upgraded, they didn't have computers back then. Okay, so this is 80s.
Yeah.
A lot of this is 80s here. And these bunks you saw were 80s too, 1980s. There's where all your storage was for supplies. Oh, they took them out. What happened here, Anna? They got tired of me making fun of them. They always had in here Listerine. They had all kinds of goodies stacked here. What happened? Oh, I have to go talk to Melanie. See what happened here. This is where your records were kept in here. And this area here, this was a lounge area for the E6s. That was first class, petty officers. This is where they would eat. But they also, when they weren't feeding people in here, they would assemble bombs here. Pilots, when they get in the ready room, they would make up a list of what do they need for their mission. In other words, 100-pounders, 200-pounders, 5. They would make up a list of what they wanted. They had to tell them what size they wanted, whether it be 100 or 500. They had to tell them what type of fins, because some of them will glide and some will go straight down, okay? And then they would have the contactor on the front, either delayed contact once it hits and then it's delayed for a while, or instant hit. So you'd have to tell them everything you needed. And they would, this is where they fill it out. Now, nothing was ever fused down here. They put it together here. No bombs were in this condition. I mean, it was all piece parts below us, okay? And then they brought them up here. I'll show you the elevator in the back here. That's a Italian mine there. That's a depth charge. You don't see too many of them close up. That you roll, and you see in the movies where they roll off the ship, blow up. That's an actual depth charge there. I never seen one myself close up. That's the first time. Now, on the rack, that one that's hanging there was a bomb, but they converted it. These are all mines. Every one you see here is a mine. When you see the MK designation, means it was a mine. Okay. Now, the Texas Navy came to me, and they said, or not me, I came to Rusty and those guys and said, hey, can we have a space on the ship? And they said, sure. So we gave them this area here, and man, this is fantastic. It talks about the Texas Navy here. And it's a real good display. They got a great movie here. It talks about the whole thing. The show starts in 2 hours. Is that 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean, the Texas Navy, fascinating history, and you still have like the battleship Texas around today, things like that that you can visit.
But this is all prior to that. This is what happened back during the Mexican, the Alamo days.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all that
yeah.
jazz. Okay, this is that. They show the. I don't have the pictures here. Oh, yeah, the schooners and so forth, the Baltimore Clipper, and there was the type of ships, and then the cannons. I told them this would last 30 days. Well, before somebody broke it, you used to be able to spin it. It lasted 27. I was off by 3. There's your guns. This is and this isn't this nasty looking here. This is what they fired in the cannons at you. Can you imagine that coming at you, taking off arms and legs? God, I don't want to see it. Anyway, these are your water valves. Anytime you see blue, everything's color coded, by the way. I'll show you downstairs when we get down here. Blue means fresh water. Green is salt water. Yellow is oil. Let's go down here. There's 3 movies here. What they do is they show you how the elevator works with the ram and everything. They show you how the boilers work, and each one's about a 15-minute deal. And they show you what was the other one? It was the elevator, the boiler room, and what is it? Oh, disposal. How they handle waste, matter, and so forth. These are interesting.
Yeah.
He goes through all the details. He shows you how. I really like that. So, here's the color codes I was talking about. All the pipes have color codes, and then you look up here and you don't see any colors. There's green though, that's salt water. Okay, and you go right down the line here. Light blue is freshwater feeds. Then you got salt water. Then you got the lube. Anytime you see black stripe, it's lube. And then this is fuel oil. That's one you worry about because it's always at 145 degree temperature. It's hot. It's warm. The foam is this way. The AFFF. It's barber pole, and they got helium, and you don't see too much of these anymore. Sewage you do, gold. Sewage is your gold. Okay. Steam lines, they say it's white, but they got them so heavy, coated with asbestos. Well, they did have asbestos. That's another thing that bugs me. In '53, they took all the asbestos out of the ships, and they knew that was a problem. And they put in the fiberglass. And why didn't they tell everybody else? 1953.
Yeah.
They knew this. Notice the opening here. There's no hatch there. We had to cut this out. The state of Texas requires that we have a separate entrance and an exit. That's why you don't see the boiler rooms. You got to do a special tour to get to see those. Okay. But normally you have to have a separate entrance and a separate exit out of an enclosed area. So we cut this out. That's the armor plating. Now, this is level 4. Level 4 on this ship is armor plated all the way across the ship. I mean, anytime you walk down and you see this, you know you're at level 4, and it's the armor plating. You can see it's about 1 1/4 inch thick armor plating here. And these are all the symbols I talked about of guys that worked in these areas here. Like that's an electrician, Gearman, I don't know, Carpenter Square, I don't remember that one. The boiler, they took it down. There's the boiler symbol, and there's the bladed one I told you about, the machinist mate, so forth. And then the gear man over there, all the different styles. It's your water gauges. You have a water bubble here. Yeah, you would move these up and down to move, keep your tanks full. You want to keep them full, and I'll show you why down here. This is, by the way, the water level outside is level 4 right here. Give or take a foot or 2 according to the tide. But we're going down underwater now. And you can see this is regular staircase here because we put this in.
Have to adapt certain things in order to make it easier for the public to come through.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. What I want to show you here, I want you to show you the shaft here. It's painted red and white. Take a look at it here. You see that it's striped? And I'll explain to you in a minute what that means, okay? I don't know if you can, they took it out of here. There used to be a mirror here that shined down there, okay? Because of this new display they put this in. Is it not working? Oh, there it is. They do a little Charlie.
Okay.
We found out his name wasn't Charlie. By the way, we're talking to the ghost. We found out who it is.
On the other side of the ship and about 170 feet out of where I'm standing now. I had 10 friends scattered around.
Okay. Now this is engine room number 2. What we got here. This is prop number 3. We have 2 sets that got a high pressure steam turbine, a low pressure steam turbine tied to reduction gears onto that one shaft. This one runs 4,000 RPM. Excuse me, that one runs 4,000 RPM. This runs 1,000. Then they made them onto that shaft, okay? The reason for this one here is this gives them the capability to go in reverse. Okay, we can, both of them together, we can drive the ship 38 kilometers. This one here will give us 20 backwards. This one can be reversed. That one can't, okay? So we can reverse this, and that's the event. Say they messed up our launch area. Then they can turn the ship around and launch off the back of the ship. Prop planes didn't need to be catapult. It's only when it got into the jet age that they needed to catapult systems, okay? So the planes could take off and land without being catapulted. The only reason they catapulted back in is to get them off faster, okay? They can get them off. The bilge is down here, and that's where they open. That's where they bring in, they have open water valves where they bring in ocean water, salt water, and then we make our own fresh water. And this is one of the areas where we store it right here. This is called a DFT. This is where you would store your fresh water after you've went through the evaporator coil system and so forth. It's a closed system, the steam system here. So it starts here though. This is where the water's brought in. What's unique about this, they change the atmospheric pressure inside this tank. So what it does, it changes the flash point of steam from 212 to 250. And even multiple, what makes it easier to work with, okay? 212 is not very easy to work with. So it's really unique. They change the atmospheric pressure to 17 psi, where normally it's 14.3 or 14.7, which is 14.7. Okay, and these are the gauges I was talking about. This tank holds 4,200 gallons. We had to keep this, very important that we kept this. It's the last chance to get impurities out of the fresh water that we made. It's pure distilled water, but sometimes you'll have air bubbles, sometimes you'll have impurities. You know? And this is your last chance. From here, it goes to the boiler room, okay? And it's shipped over 250 degrees just at the flash point, okay? Let's go over here. Now, this is for prop number 3. Normally, I'm really making noise on that microphone, and sorry about that.
It's hot out. You got a drink.
Yeah, you can tell they put that display for the Charlie over there, and they messed this up. Normally, I could see the shaft from here, okay? And I'd be at the props here. Now, this is where the bridge talks to me, right here. This is that same dial you saw upstairs here. The red arrow is them talking to me. Excuse me, the white arrow is them talking to me. The red arrow is me. I can move the red arrow. Ship's telemetry, they tell me what they want me to do. The white arrow tells me what they want me to do. And then I move the red arrow, okay, I've gotten the command, and I do it, okay? Now, if they ask me to reverse, and this is your forward throttle, this is your reverse throttle here. They want me to reverse, they would tell me on there, and I had to shut this off, and I'd watch. When I saw the red stripes again, I could go into reverse. Otherwise, I was stripping gears and stuff, you can imagine. Now, this is individually controlling props 3. Prop 2 has its own control panel. Prop 4 and prop 1 have all their own control panel. This is the main steam valve for this area here. I can't just come and turn this on, okay? I gotta hit this bypass valve right here, equalize the pressure on both sides of the valve here, and then I can turn that on. Okay, otherwise you wouldn't be able to turn it. This here, they called it a guardian valve. Originally, they were going to put what they call a cruise turbine in here. Once you got up to cruising speed, it would take over. Okay, but this is the earlier models. Some of the newer models have it, like the Oriskany, which is the salvaged it now. But what they use it as a governor. So they would set this to make sure that I couldn't exceed the steam output. If I did, it would shut the whole system down. Okay, so that's what this is your salinity detectors to make sure that you didn't have salt in the fresh water. Because that, I'll tell you, it's like a bullet if you had salt in there, and it can damage these pipes. And what we're talking 850 degrees, super saturated steam. What that means, if I was to have a break here, it wouldn't be like in the movies where you saw a cloud of white smoke. You wouldn't see nothing. You'd hear it. You'd hear it under 600 psi. The new ones are 1200 psi, new ships. But this set was at 600. The way they troubleshooted that now, I could hear it, but I couldn't see where it was damaged. They get a broomstick handle, and I'm not pulling your leg on this, and they walk down the pipe. They can, by sound, they can isolate it, okay? And then get over there and they find out, and then when it cuts the broomstick handle, they got it.
Wow.
Now, I thought the guy was pulling my leg. A bunch of guys come from power plants, and they said that's how they do it. And they're running 1800 psi. You know, they're pretty hefty. So I mean, it's a common deal. For the longest time, they thought I was the ghost. They had a camera here, a newspaper in town here called the Caller Times, and people for a long time thought I was the ghost. This was my station when I first started working here. They thought I was the ghost that everybody was saying. Over here, this gives you the inside of the low pressure steam turbine. You can see the fins on this, and this is the one that you would be able to reverse, where that one wouldn't. That's straight ahead. That was a booth here, soundproof booth here. Temperatures run anywhere from 120 to 140 degrees down here. That's pretty hot. And you couldn't get out of uniform. In the Navy, even though you see it in the movies, we had dungaree shirts we wore, and you didn't take those off. You wore that. Like he's wearing that, except we had short sleeves too. We had short sleeves. This was the main entrance and exit out of here. And I used to have a ball here. I used to push this thing here. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
But it really was a siren, and it'd go off. It scared the hell out of everybody in here. It was fun. But everybody started doing it, so they disabled it.
They just had to ruin your fun.
And I had to ruin my fun. I scared the heck out of everybody in here. We just about covered everything. We did pretty good. Sometimes
Great job.
Stuff on the decks. Normally it takes, people think you can do this in an hour and a half. Nah, you got to spend at least 4 to 6 hours. There's so much to see and read.
How many different tours are offered on the ship at different times? Are they numbered? I know you mentioned some of the hard hat tours and things.
Yeah, we had operations tours. We have hard hats. We have the regular tour. Operations, they show you how they work on the flight deck. Here's what I want to show you here. This is the classes I was talking about. CV-1 was a Langley, 1942. This is the first carrier built. These were all the cruiser hull, I called them. They go all the way down to 8, the Hornet. Essex starts a new class. That's our class here. As you can see, we were 16, but we were the second one built. Okay? They were pretty good. But it goes all the way through to the Midway. Where's the Midway here? Right here. All these are Essex class carriers, which we never lost any of. Closest we came was Franklin right here.
And it's really neat that there are some of the other carriers have also been preserved as museum ships.
Yeah.
So throughout the country, if you're not near to Corpus Christi, but you might have an opportunity to visit some of the other museum ships.
Have you ever been to the Midway?
I have, yeah.
That is excellent.
It is excellent, yes. It's
we
very
went this
impressive.
year, and that shows you the classes now. Okay, is this running? No. Now one I wanted to show you here was a guy being sucked into a jet engine.
Oh.
Man, it was, and he survived. It was wild. I'm gonna tell you. You had to see it to believe it. All right, that was a bakery back there, and also a bomb elevator. This is where when they assembled over there, they brought them here, and this goes all the way up to the flight deck. Okay, that's a bomb elevator, and that's a bakery back there, fully intact. And this was a setup for the Franklin. They had a reunion here, and there was a lot of guys lost on that. It was pretty well damaged. They also had the Tuskegee there. I don't know why he's got that there. This is the other side, so here's your breakfast. I was surprised they put these trays here. The other end of the machine shop, and that's the one I didn't show you earlier over here, is the electric shop right here. You can barely see it, the rails going into that room over there. That's the electric shop. You know, I'd like to show you one thing in here. I'd like to show you the pilot's quarters here.
Yeah.
Let's go take a quick look. She's going to get mad at me. But this is where she gets off anyway. These are all the valves, like I say, somebody comes with a clipboard and checks them all the time. What's on, what's off. This is our pilot's room here. One of them. This whole row is pilots. 2 beds. They had their own shower, bathroom. It's cool, it's still air conditioning in
Yeah.
there.
How many pilots would have been on board typically?
Well, it's hard to tell according to the squadrons.
Okay.
And normally I had up to 6. There'd be quite a few pilots. I couldn't come out with numbers on them. I don't know offhand. I'd have to look that up. But this is typical here. I spent the night here a couple of times. We have the paranormal tours at night. I come in here and sleep. Not you. Shut that light out for me. I'll take them out. We'll finish off down this way, babe. I'll take them out. I just want to show them that. We'll walk right out here. You'll be locked on the ship for the night. You'll be able to make the paranormal.
Be here just in time for the paranormal tours.
You come in here. I was going to say, you can head home if you want to, but I'm just taking them out.
No problem.
Might as well see the rest of it as they go through here. This is the post office here. You wouldn't come here. You would have a representative come pick your mail up and bring your mail if you had. But your mail was censored. You couldn't say where you were, where you were going, or where you're presently at, okay? Mm-hmm. They were all censored. I imagine they do it electronically now. Email, I don't know how they do it. Quickly in here. So nice coming in these rooms. Real quickly in here, this shows you all the aircraft from the B-2 bomber. That's my baby there. I worked with that one, Lockheed SR-71. And there's our 117 stuff. All the planes. And this was the one I worked on when I was in the Navy, right there.
The one in the back there?
Yeah, A-24. Yeah, that's the Grumman Stoof, they call it Stoof, S2F, anti-submarine aircraft. That's loaded with electronics. But this is cool. But what's neat, you look at some of this stuff in here. Look at this. I love this submarine. It's got like rust. He made it like rust on there.
Very realistic looking.
Yeah, very realistic. It's really cool. They did a nice job on here. You can see your different helicopters, Predators. See, most up to date. Okay. Okay, let's get out of here. That was the Lexington there. No, that's Agagi that we simulated in the movie. Used this ship to simulate it. God, they got to update this. This is still not up to date. I have to get on them all the time about this. The guys are still alive. That's changes every year. And they don't change. That's been the same way for about 5, 6 years. This is the reason this ship is unsinkable here. This is what they call void tanks. It's the separation between the outer skin and inner skin of the ship. And they have what they call fuel cells in there. I'll show you a diagram on the way out here. It shows you what they look like. But you store stuff in there and you're able to transfer it around. So when we get hit by the torpedo, the ship listed 13 degrees and flooded 4 decks, okay? We were able to move the fuel and the water around and so forth to ballast it out. And then they could go in there and work. This is cool. But that separation like that in their compartments. So if an area is hit, it's only a little compartment.
They're able to close that off.
It's a fuel cell, basically, yeah. Okay. This is, tells you our longevity. Sidewinders, this is Vietnam era. We were in the, we didn't go to Vietnam, but we were still in the business then. This is a bomb elevator here. I was a stop, pick up sidewinders. AFFF, real quickly, let's walk through here. Pharmacy, and there's a lab back here, blood test. They would check for ticks and for malaria, mosquitoes for malaria. If they saw it, then they would start giving guys the tablets for it. Quinine. X-ray room, it's completely lead lined, and then they have a soundproof booth here for checking your ears. Notice the stripes on that guy. That is almost World War I there. Red stick. And then optical. This is everything plastic in there, so it wasn't realistic. It was donated by an optometrist in town. Lay, forget his name, I think it's Lay. Where is it? I think, not important. Okay. And we have the 2 examination rooms. By the way, the pilots didn't like to be called doctors. They're very sensitive. They're flight surgeons. they had to be.
Titles are important.
Yes, they were flight surgeons. There were 2 areas here. And this was a this was your ER here, emergency room here. But you couldn't do major surgery in this one for bumps and bruises and cuts. There's where you kept your supplies, medical supplies in here. And then these transformers are still humming. And this was your operating room here. You can do everything up to brain surgery here. And they got a sterilization room. They can, 30 minutes they can have it ready for another operation. And that was your pantry there. A lot of that's funny looking at the stuff in there. Got some, oh, and that, see, that guy wasn't here before. This is your sick call area here. They had actually 3 curtains, as you can see here, because you got, that was your head back there. It's they have a sitz bath and a whirlpool, a hot bath and a whirlpool there, and that's your head. But see, they got barriers there. I never saw that. Everything was always open, and that shows you some of the history. I hate to give you the bum's rush here.
No, you're good. This is great.
One thing to mention here, you see these boxes here? These are all at these levels here where you're closed in. What the reason for them is an oxygen tent. If you have a fire here, the smoke will build up real quick. This will give you 15 minutes of oxygen tent. You just put it over your head and you get out of here. You can go anywhere in 15 minutes, okay? This is the quarantine area here. If you had measles or anything that was, infectious. But later in the 80s, this is where the women, they kept the women here. They didn't trust us sailors. We had 10 bunks here, okay? And back here they had another 15 brackets on the wall. You have another 50, total of 45. But during a battle, only the serious came here. We had triage centers all over the ship.
Yeah.
The little rooms up where you can just take care of people. Okay. Symbols on the doors. These are very important here to read, because this one here, these here with the red Z's, you can't open the door unless you have permission from the captain during battle. That's your watertight integrity. You know, you got to keep that. Okay, and these show your normal boxes that they're okay, like fuse boxes and transformers and so forth. All these symbols you see there. I used to have a card that showed what they meant. But this is your damage control area here we're going through now. This shows you how they lifted heavy equipment up and down. And the lower there, you can see this opens quite widely. So you get big equipment, you can move it to lower levels.
Right.
It's not easy. This is your suits, your chemical suits and your fire suits that the guys use. By the way, this is a result of that torpedo hit we got in December of '43. Because the rudder was jammed, they couldn't control it, so they made 7 different stations where you can manually control the rudder now. You got a GPS, your compass, and you got your rudder controls. And so you manually move the rudder. And that was a result of that operation. Braces you see here, that's called a K-brace. That's in the event you got a shell that hits you at the water line or something, and water comes rushing in, that bulkhead will bulge and eventually collapse. So they put a K-brace to seal it. And if you got a damaged hatch, then you use an I-brace. All these 4x4s that they put on these things here. Okay, now this is what I was talking about earlier here. This is the fuel cells I was looking, your compartments all around the ship. They're color coded. Green is salt water, blue is fresh water. That's fuel, jet fuel. That's ship fuel. Ship fuel. This is the main ship fuel area here. It's 1.5 million gallons right there. And notice though, the gasoline is in areas it's not as prevalent. You know, it wouldn't be hard to hit it in certain areas. But whoever hit this ship hit us from behind, so they knew how to get us. Okay, I guess that's intelligence.
Yeah.
They figured that out. Because we carried a what do we call it? A skirt, like a skirt, torpedo skirt they called it. It was from the waterline down 10 feet. It was 4 inches thick, and it was they had sections of it all along the outside of the ship. So if a torpedo hits, it's not a panic.
Extra armor.
Yeah, extra armor. I was going to show you the pictures in here. I don't know if she's getting antsy. There's the Franklin. This is the one we came closest to losing here. This is one I was telling you about of the Essex class. We came close to losing. This shows you a lot of accidents that had happened at various times, like the Belknap and the USS Kennedy. But notice the drawings here, they're like 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
When you're looking for all the DC fixed fog systems, you know where they are. You can see them highlighted. The same way in here with your DC casualty panels. There's none at below level 3. I guess because of the chance of water getting in and knocking out the emergency system. But all these are different accidents that happened over the years. We're in C section now, guys. This is again, this is already gauged up like the one that was upstairs. But what's unique about this, when we come out of the engine room, say I forgot to turn off those valves, I can turn them off from here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is your AFFF. This is where they made, there's 10 of these strategically located along the ship. You notice salt water coming in, notice the red line, that's chemical. And then they mix and they come out red and green, okay? That's your AFFF. There's, like I said, 10 of those. And in here was the chapel, is the chapel now. She was talking about the guys over here. This is volunteers over the years that have died here. I came aboard when this guy died. I knew most of these people. This is a good friend of mine here. Hannah, which one did they see? There's our old boss, Rocco.
I didn't know which one. I sent her a video, so I'll see.
Oh, she'll tell us which one it was? Okay. This guy lived here. He had the highest hours, 25,000 hours.
That's incredible.
I'm here 19 years, I'm just getting 6,000. This is a functional chapel. now. It used to be up on level where we were on tour 2. It was over there in the corner. All these pews were donated by a Lutheran church. The picture is back here on the wall. But they made this in 1962 when they took all the Marines off and made it a training ship. They made this chapel. So I've been to 5 burial funerals here, and weddings usually do on the flight deck or do in the hangar deck. Okay, and this was the chaplain's change room, or this was the Marine officers, duty officers area right here. This area here. And this is their, turn the lights on here. This is their small arms armory, and then of course the Sparrow missile was classified back then. They assembled everything, the Marines assembled all the classified stuff in here. Okay, this was all done here. They had an elevator, that's a dumbwaiter, bring up the missiles and stuff right there. And there's what we used to have. That was mackerel snappers, Catholics, that's us. We had the kneelers, where the Lutherans don't. But that's what they had before. That was off the Cabot, by the way. Where we paint, on this level here was where all the maintenance was done, okay? This is where we paint the planes. They usually do them up there, they sandblast them up there, then bring them down. This is the Phantom I was telling you I couldn't find. I figured it was down here. See, every year we got to paint them. Repaint them. And that's the list here. The guys in yellow are all the volunteers. The ones in blue are all the workers. Guys that get paid. That's all your team. Here, do maintenance and everything.
Thank you so much for the incredible tour today, Dominic. This has been amazing. I appreciate your time. For everyone watching this, if you're interested in visiting the USS Lexington, we'll make sure to have a link to the website in the description of this video, so you can click that and find all the info you need to find about coming down here to Corpus Christi and checking out the Lexington. It's an amazing tour. Highly recommend touring this ship. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.